Chapter 106. Rumble. The bronze gate slowly opened. Lin Xian turned around to look at Northgard City, then quickly ran off into the distance. That kid left. Informed the Ling family to get rid of him halfway. In the corner, two shadows whispered, then quickly disappeared into the city. The forest was vast and boundless, and tigers roared and apes cried. Lin Xian once again came to the primeval forest. He was not in a hurry, but rather casually strolled through the forest, picking up a few herbs from time to time. Once I make the spirit wine, I should be able to ascend to the 9th level of the meridian condensing realm, Lin Xian said in a low voice. Wine Lord, why don't you teach me the winemaking technique as well? I'd like to, but am afraid you won't be able to learn it. Wine Lord coldly snorted. Are you kidding? How could I? Lin Xian refused. You're the one who doesn't want to teach me. Kid, let me give you some knowledge. Wine Lord sighed. Winemaking and refining tools are actually the same method. This method is called inscription. Inscription? Lin Xian was slightly surprised. He seemed to have heard this term from his family, but he couldn't remember it at the moment. Yes, inscription is not only a method but also a profession. Wine Lord slowly said. Using a special method and a strong soul force to inscribe spirit patterns, this kind of person is called an inscription master. I'm afraid there's no inscription master in Yunzhou, so it's normal that you haven't heard of it. Wine Lord sighed. When you condense a soul seal, it'll teach you the art of inscription. A soul seal? Lord Alcohol explained. The soul power in your mind is stimulated by sword intent, so we'll call it a sword soul for now. When your sword soul can condense a sword talisman, it'll teach you. And that sword talisman mark is the so-called soul mark. Lin Xian nodded, not fully understanding. It seemed that the art of the soul was broad and profound, and he still needed to study it more. Your current body is barely enough for another trial, Wine Lord said with a smile. Take out the red flame greatsword. Oh. Lin Xian flicked his finger, and a dark red greatsword appeared in his hand. The true purpose of this sword is not to slash people. Wine Lord smiled mysteriously. If it's not slashing people, then what is it? Lin Xian scratched his head. Strengthening the body? Wine Lord was surprised. You know? Lin Xian pursed his lips. Didn't you ask me to carry it on my back in the past? But this weight is useless to me now. No effect? Wine Lord sneered. Did you see the rune on it? The one with the fiery red imprint. Lin Xian discovered that there was a fiery red rune under the sword hilt, but most of it was blocked by rust. Use your soul strength and slowly pour it in. Something miraculous will happen. Lin Xian was skeptical. He used his soul strength and tried to touch the fiery red imprint. The moment he touched it, there was a loud bang, and a huge force suddenly appeared around him, causing his body to tremble and almost fall over. Damn, why is it so heavy? He quickly circulated his spirit energy, and his body shone with light, resisting the strange force. Within a radius of 1 zhang, the entire ground had caved in. Even some of the trees had turned into powder and scattered all over the ground. This force. Lin Xian was stunned, and then he cried out, 10 times the gravity! 10 times the gravity! He had experienced it at the end of the first trial in the intersect exam. It was a feeling worse than death. That's right, it really is 10 times the gravity. Carry it on your back and cultivate. Wine Lord smiled. I'm thirsty, I'll go refine some spirit wine. Lin Xian's mouth twitched. Carry it. What a joke. He silently sensed that the spirit energy in his body was quickly depleting. It wouldn't be long before he ran out of energy. Fight. Lin Xian clenched his teeth. That guy is already 5th on the hidden dragon ranking. If I don't work hard, I won't have any chance of winning. Thinking about his opponent, Lin Xian clenched his teeth and persevered. He pulled out the red flame sword and carried it on his back with difficulty. His hands exerted strength, and the spirit energy in his body trembled. Kacha! The red flame sword moved slowly, and then it rose little by little. Finally, Lin Xian lifted it into the air. During this process, his arms trembled uncontrollably, as if they could fall at any time. Whoosh! Whoosh! Finally, Lin Xian carried the red flame sword on his back. It felt as if he was carrying a mountain, extremely heavy. His back was bent and he couldn't straighten it. Sweat was like a stream, constantly dripping down his face. Pung! Pung! With every step the ground cracked like a spider web, and then deeply caved in. Lin Xian's knees were almost buried in the ground. Although it was very difficult, he didn't give up. He continued to walk step by step and even had to rest for a long time after every step. Within his body, Wine Lord saw this scene and nodded slightly. Then he muttered to himself, "If you don't strengthen your little body, how will you be able to drink the spirit wine I made for you? Work hard, young man." Lin Xian took 20 steps with difficulty, and all the spirit energy in his body was used up. He discovered that it wasn't just the effect of the tenfold gravity. The dark red sword was also constantly suppressing his spirit energy, making him feel suffocated. Pung! Stabbing the sword into the ground, the entire sword was almost buried in the ground. Lin Xian sat within a zhang of it, cross-legged, and recovered. The spirit energy that was originally circulating very quickly had become abnormally slow at this moment. He wasn't impatient, and gradually recovered from his shock and anger. He calmly began to cultivate. An hour later, the spirit energy in his body had recovered to its original state. Again, Lin Xian shouted in a low voice, and once again carried the crimson flame sword on his back. After taking a few steps, his heart suddenly shook, and a strong sense of danger surged in his heart. Quickly using his soul power, he could clearly sense that there was a black arrow flying at him from behind. Phantom Thunderstep! Lin Xian roared in a low voice. A golden light appeared under his feet, and his body moved horizontally. However, to an outsider, Lin Xian only moved one step to the left. Damn, wait! Lin Xian cursed in a low voice. His body moved again and he barely dodged the arrow. Gee! There was a tear in his clothes, revealing his strong muscles. Humph, I thought he was a powerful character, but I didn't expect him to be so useless. Even dodging an arrow is so difficult. For such a piece of trash, they actually sent us brothers, how laughable. Several disdainful voices came from behind him. Lin Xian slowly turned around, and found 5 black-clothed people standing in front of him. 3 of them were at the 8th level of the Meridian stage, and 2 were at the 9th level of the Meridian stage. Little Xianzi, don't take off your sword. Wine Lord's voice sounded from the bottom of his heart, sounding very casual. Lin Xian's little face fell, and his expression became very ugly. You want to play me to death? No one answered. Lin Xian angrily cursed twice. When this expression fell into the eyes of the black-clothed people, it increased their misunderstanding. Look, he's scared. I'm dying of laughter. This kind of trash, it's better to quickly get rid of him. Living is shameful. Chapter 107. The black-clothed warrior ran forward quickly and turned into a ray of light in the air. Swoosh swoosh. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Lin Xian and quickly swung the dagger in his hand. However, before he could make a move, the tenfold pressure engulfed him. The black-clothed man was caught off guard and was immediately pressed to the ground. Humph! Lin Xian quickly followed up with a kick, stomping the man's head into the mud. Blood gushed out from the wound. What? The black-clothed men in the distance were all stunned and shocked. They did not know what had happened and only saw their own men rushing over and taking the initiative to lie on the ground, waiting to be abused. Damn it, it's so strange. A black-clothed warrior cursed. Could it be that this kid knows sorcery? For a moment, the 4 black-clothed warriors did not dare to act rashly. You go and try. A rank 8 warrior was pushed to the front. The black-clothed warrior walked forward with a sullen face. He cautiously circulated his spirit power to the maximum, and covered himself with a thick defense before rushing over. Bang! The moment he approached, he also felt a huge pressure. Although he activated his defense, he was still hit to the ground by the pressure. In the end, Lin Xian's sword intent flashed and pierced through the black-clothed warrior. Hiss! The remaining 3 black-clothed warriors gasped. This time they saw clearly that anyone who was within 3 feet of Lin Xian would be attacked inexplicably. Attack from afar. The 3 black-clothed warriors reached an agreement. Kid, even if we have to exhaust you, we will exhaust you to death. The leading black-clothed warrior sneered. Lin Xian did not move and remained standing in the same place. He asked tentatively, Did Ling Zhe send you? Yes, so what if I tell you? Anyway, you won't be able to escape today. The three black-clothed warriors moved forward cautiously and then continuously slashed out saber and sword aura. There were also palm shadows that filled the sky as a vast amount of energy surged towards Lin Xian. Damn, you really think that I'm easy to bully? Lin Xian used all his strength and threw the long sword behind him. Boom! The area of 10 times gravity crashed down, and the bodies of the three men in black were instantly bent. How is this possible? He has always been under this kind of gravity. The black-clothed man's face was completely pale. It's too scary. This kind of gravity is not something that humans can withstand. The three black-clothed men struggled to escape. However, Lin Xian would not give them the chance. The moment he threw out the crimson flame greatsword, a sword ray shot out from his fingertips. It was dazzling and filled with killing intent. Puff! The sword chi was like a rainbow, surging in the air, instantly splitting the rank 8 warrior in half. No! The remaining two black men roared. Their eyes were filled with anger as they stared hatefully at Lin Xian. At the same time, they circulated their spiritual energy and fled. Wang! 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 If you want to kill, then you must be prepared to be killed. Lin Xian waved his arm. Sword chi soared into the sky, turning into a dazzling waterfall that slashed towards the two. Bang! The long sword chi struck the black-clothed man's body, piercing through his protective shield. Suddenly, 10 times the pressure swarmed up, wanting to swallow him whole. Sooner or later, I will step into the Ling family and kill Ling Zhe with my own hands. Lin Xian's black hair fluttered as the sword chi flew around him. You want to go against the Ling family? Too naive. Our Ling family is a big family in Yunzhou. Is that so? Lin Xian's mouth curved. His Bodhi sword chi soared into the sky. The powerful sword chi swept in all directions, terrifying everyone. The two black-clothed men trembled as if they could not withstand this kind of will. Their bodies were frozen in place. Sword chi, this is sword chi. Damn it, how can he have this kind of thing? The two men roared crazily. Looks like you didn't enter Northgard City. What a pity. Lin Xian's eyes were like lightning. He waved two sword chi and pierced through the two men. Under 10 times the pressure and facing the terrifying sword chi, the two men did not even try to dodge. Their bodies fell weakly to the ground. My sword chi is getting better and better. Lin Xian felt the sharp aura and was full of confidence. Pulling out the crimson flame sword, Lin Xian carried it on his back with difficulty, then walked silently into the distance. Half a month later, in front of the silver waterfall, a figure sat cross-legged under the waterfall. His strong muscles glowed in the water as if they were full of power. As expected of the body-strengthening marrow-cleansing wine, the effect is so good. This is only the lowest level. I have a lot of spirit wine here. Another voice sounded out of nowhere. It was very ethereal. This figure was Lin Xian. Since the day he took care of the Wanling family warrior, he had been cultivating while carrying 10 times the gravity. Later, Wine Lord made a spirit wine that was very effective in strengthening the body. Lin Xian drank it every day. Not only did it strengthen his muscles, but it also strengthened his meridians, organs, and other important organs. Even if his current body was compared to a martial artist who specialized in body refinement, he would still win by 30%. Looking at the time, it's about time to go back. Lin Xian jumped out of the water and put on a black robe. He quickly carried the crimson flame sword on his back and ran into the distance. 3 days later, he returned to the Black Heaven sect. Putting away the crimson flame sword, Lin Xian walked in. Without the shackles of 10 times the gravity, he felt as light as a feather, as if he did not exist. With a slight force, Lin Xian lightly stepped on the ground. His body shot out like a bolt of lightning, and his speed was extremely fast. Whoosh! A bolt of lightning flashed, bringing with it gusts of wind. The surrounding disciples did not notice Lin Xian's figure at all. They just looked around in confusion. After a while, Lin Xian came to the herbal hall, turned in the mission, and received his reward. Along the way, he heard many disciples enthusiastically talking about some trial ground. Those people's expressions were filled with excitement. Lin Xian asked out of curiosity. He found out that the trial ground they were talking about was a secret realm in the cloud state. It was equivalent to a small independent space. There were all kinds of rare herbs, cultivation techniques, and weapons inside. It could be said to be a paradise. That good? Lin Xian was puzzled. The disciples explained to him. Although it's good, it's extremely dangerous inside. Not only are there powerful demonic beasts, but there are also some traps and arrays. Moreover, we have to prevent other sect disciples from attacking. It could be said that danger and opportunity coexisted. I see. Lin Xian understood. He continued to ask, are there any conditions to participate in this trial? The disciple looked at Lin Xian in surprise and said, every sect has a limited number of spots. I estimate that you need to at least have the strength of a core disciple. Core disciple? Lin Xian smiled. He originally wanted to challenge a core disciple, but now it seemed that he had to speed up. According to the disciples, the trial of blood would be held in a month. I'll go challenge the trial tower first. Lin Xian made up his mind. His body turned into an afterimage as he ran towards the trial tower. In fact, it was not only Lin Xian. The other disciples in the Black Heaven sect were also carefully preparing. Many of them were going to challenge a core disciple and win a spot in the trial. Chapter 108. On the ranking stone tablet, a name quickly rose and soon broke through the top 100. After entering the top 100, not only did this name not fall, but it also rose at an even faster speed. After this phenomenon occurred, the entire inner sect was alarmed. Many disciples ran over, wanting to witness the moment of miracle with their own eyes. This name was naturally Lin Xian. With his current strength, entering the cultivation pagoda was not a problem for him. He quickly passed through all the stages. However, his casual actions caused a huge commotion. It moved. In front of the stone tablet, many disciples exclaimed, this Lin Xian has already broken through the top 50 and is still continuing. This is too terrifying. Previously, it was already very good for disciples to rise by 1 or 2 ranks, but he actually rose by several hundred ranks. This is too heaven-defying. I'm afraid that even the core disciples don't have this kind of speed. Is this Lin Xian the one who condensed sword intent? A group of disciples chattered and discussed incessantly. In the crowd, Ling Zhe saw this scene and almost fainted. This time, he had sent enough people to deal with the core disciples. But Lin Xian was actually still alive. Not only was he alive, but he also caused such a terrifying impact. Ling Zhe's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He realized that he seemed to have provoked someone he could not provoke. Fan Chong was also shocked. He was silently watching everything from afar. Lin Xian's performance made him deeply afraid. What he wanted to do now was not to deal with Lin Xian, but to prevent Lin Xian from dealing with him. 20. He entered the top 20. The disciples exclaimed, 17, 15, 13, 11. It stopped. Lin Xian's name finally stopped. Apart from the core disciples, Lin Xian's name was ranked first. In the cultivation pagoda, Lin Xian slowly exhaled. Fighting so many at once, even he was a bit tired. Moreover, the difficulty of the following tests increased by a lot. But if he wanted to continue, he could definitely pass. However, he did not want to do so. The rest were all core disciples. He wanted to personally defeat them and not use this kind of virtual ranking. The change in Lin Xian's ranking not only stirred up the crowd of inner court disciples, but also some elders. Murong Qianling personally went to the cultivation pagoda to wait for Lin Xian. When Lin Xian walked out of the cultivation pagoda, he saw Murong Qianling at first glance. She was like a cold snow lotus, her entire body exuding a unique aura, causing people to sink into her with a single glance. Instructor Murong. Lin Xian smiled. Are you waiting for me? That's right. Murong Qianling's voice was cold. Lin Xian was stunned. He was just joking, but he didn't expect that he would be right. Come with me. Murong Qianling was a woman of few words. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around and left. Lin Xian could only follow behind her. When they arrived at the training grounds, Murong Qianling stopped. Her limpid eyes glanced at Lin Xian and asked, Do you know about the trial grounds? I just heard about it. I'm preparing to fight for a spot. Lin Xian nodded. I didn't expect your progress to be so fast. Originally, the elders wanted to nurture you and let you enter next time. However, it seems that the plan will have to change. Lin Xian rubbed his nose and said, I can't wait for the next time. I must enter this time. I know. That's why I came here this time to tell you the rules of the trial grounds. Murong Qianling stroked her hair and continued. The trial grounds is an independent space in the cloud region. Only disciples with a bone age of 24 and below are allowed to enter. In principle, it's guarded by the 3 sections. However, the other families in the cloud region also have some spots. Each of the 3 sects has 15 spots. The other families more or less have some spots. In the Black Sky sect, 5 spots are predetermined. As for the remaining 10 spots, many disciples will fight for them. Of course, if you don't have the strength of a core disciple, I'm afraid you won't be able to fight for it. Murong Qianling smiled. With your strength, challenging a core disciple isn't difficult. However, I have to remind you that although there are countless treasures in the trial grounds, it's also extremely dangerous. If you're not careful, you'll fall. You have to think carefully. Thank you, Instructor Murong. I understand. Lin Xian's eyes were firm and he didn't shrink back. Instructor, I wonder which 2 core disciples are Elder Shui's disciples? Lin Xian suddenly asked. The 5th and 7th. Murong Qianling looked at him with deep meaning. Then the corner of her mouth slightly rose. There was actually a trace of indescribable expectation in her heart. The next day Lin Xian did something that caused a sensation in the inner court. He challenged a core disciple. When his words came out, the entire inner court boiled over. During this period of time, everything related to Lin Xian had exceeded everyone's expectations. First, he fought Zhang Qian on the life and death arena. In a situation where no one was optimistic, he killed Zhang Qian and confronted an elder in front of everyone. Not only that, he also comprehended the legendary sword intent, and his strength greatly increased. After returning to the sect, he challenged the cultivation pagoda and directly rushed to the front of the inner court disciples. He became the first person besides the core disciples. And now Lin Xian finally began to challenge the core disciples. Who will he challenge? Everyone guessed. I guess it should be the last 2. A disciple analyzed. Although Lin Xian is valiant, his cultivation is only at the 8th level of the meridian condensing stage. There is still a large gap between him and the core disciples. Many people agreed with his opinion. For a moment the 10th and 9th place fell into a huge pressure. The 9th place was Fan Chong. After he heard the news, he became restless. During the mission in Mountain Overlook City, he had seen Lin Xian's strength with his own eyes. In addition, it was rumored that he had fought with the hidden dragon rankings Yin Shaoli. All of this made Fan Chong feel a huge fear. In the end, he couldn't hold back and decided to do something. Taking out some of his treasures, Fan Chong put on a black cloak and waited for night to fall. He quietly went to Lin Xian's residence. Lin Xian was resting when he heard a knock on the door. He quickly opened it. In the next moment, he looked at the person outside the door in a daze. The person was wearing a black robe and a cloak, making him look very mysterious. You are Junior Apprentice Brother Lin, it's me. The voice was low and slightly trembling. With that, he took off his cloak, revealing a pale face. Fan Chong? Lin Xian was stunned. What was this guy doing? Making himself look so wretched. So it's Senior Apprentice Brother Fan. Lin Xian lazily said. I wonder why Senior Apprentice Brother Fan is looking for me? Junior Apprentice Brother Lin, let's talk inside. Fan Chong's face was hot and he became bashful. Lin Xian shrugged and let him in. The current Lin Xian had absolute confidence and wasn't afraid of Fan Chong playing any tricks. Fan Chong quickly entered the room and looked around. After confirming that there was no one else, he let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 109. Lin Xian's table was filled with weapons, pills, and other cultivation resources. He looked at Fan Chong strangely, trying hard to hold back his smile. He never would have thought that the insufferably arrogant core disciple would actually try to curry favor with him. Lin, Junior Brother Lin, I've offended you in the past. I hope you don't take it to heart. Fan Chong awkwardly rubbed his hands. If it weren't for the trial of blood and fire, he wouldn't have said those words even if he was beaten to death. Since Senior Brother is so sincere, then he'll let bygones be bygones. Lin Xian smiled. That's great. Fan Chong's face lit up. I heard that Junior Brother Lin wants to challenge a core disciple. I wonder. So it's about that. Lin Xian saw Fan Chong's expression and immediately understood. He was afraid of losing his core disciple position. I've already thought of the person I want to challenge. Lin Xian purposely looked at Fan Chong. Seeing Lin Xian's gaze, Fan Chong's heart jumped. He bitterly asked, "Who is it? It can't be me, right?" "What a coincidence." Lin Xian smiled. "It really isn't you." "Who?" Fan Chong was like a deflated balloon, letting out a sigh of relief. "I don't know who junior brother Lin wants to challenge. I don't dare to say anything else, but I do know a bit about the core disciples," Fan Chong said as he patted his chest. Lin Xian was happy. He just wanted to find someone to understand. This Fan Chong was perfect. "How much do you know about the 5th and 7th? Lin Xian asked. Fan Chong looked at Lin Xian in surprise. He didn't expect him to challenge two people. This was something that had never happened before. Suddenly, he seemed to understand something. His face became even more terrified. "Aren't the 5th and 7th Elder Shui's disciples? I heard that this Lin Xian and Elder Shui had a conflict. Now it seems like it's true." Fan Chong's heart actually had a trace of luck. "Luckily I had the foresight to come and make our grudges clear. Otherwise, I'm afraid this guy would also challenge me." Thinking that he had almost lost his core disciple status, Fan Chong felt a burst of fear. Taking a deep breath, Fan Chong said in a deep voice, "The 7th disciple is called Dong Ying. He specializes in speed and practices the high-grade mystic class martial art, Shadowless Step. He also knows a high-grade leg art, Ghost Lion Flick. The 5th disciple is Zhao Ziqing, a body-refining martial artist. He has practiced the Iron Body secret art, a profound stage master. His body is extremely strong, and no sword can penetrate it. These two are both at the peak of 9th stage Ningmai. They cannot be underestimated." Lin Xian asked the other core disciples a few more questions before sending Fan Chong away. Lin Xian was even more confident now that he had grasped the two's characteristics and cultivation methods. 2 days later, Lin Xian made his move. In the Xiantian sect, the mountains were beautiful, and many of them had pavilions. In one of the pavilions, a young man with slightly dark skin was surrounded by a group of young boys and girls. He was talking arrogantly about something. Right at this moment, a clear voice sounded out. "You're Dong Ying?" The proud young man's face froze. He quickly scanned the surroundings and asked in a deep voice, "Who is it? Get out here." Quite the temper. I wonder how strong you are." The voice was like a breeze, echoing in the surroundings. "See you on the challenge platform." As soon as the voice fell, a tree branch flew out and floated into the pavilion. Just as the branch was about to fall, the leaves on the branch suddenly vibrated like countless small fish. They quickly jumped out and nailed themselves to the stone pillar. The emerald green leaves formed 2 words. Lin Xian. Lin Xian. He wants to challenge senior brother Dong. The group of young men exclaimed and quickly looked at the dark-skinned young man, only to see him frowning deeply. Xintian sect. Inner sect challenge platform. Lin Xian stood quietly on the platform in a black robe. The news had been released and more people had rushed here. Many of them were core disciples. After all, this was a competition between core disciples, and the results were very important. Among them, Tang Yi, who was ranked 3rd, and Xiang Chun, who was ranked 4th, had arrived early. In the end, except for the first 2 core disciples, almost all of them had arrived. Zhao Ziqing, who was ranked 5th, was also surrounded by a group of people. Lin Xian glanced at Zhao Ziqing and chuckled softly. "Dong Ying isn't here yet. Why don't you come up and spar with me? It's only a matter of time anyway." His tone was very relaxed, and he did not take the 2 of them seriously at all. However, his words caused a huge commotion in the crowd. "What? Did I hear wrong? He's provoking Zhao Ziqing? Isn't he going to fight Dong Ying? Does he want to challenge both of them?" Thinking of this, all the disciples gasped. "This is too crazy." It was not that they could not continue to challenge each other, but in fact almost no one would do that. This was because after one challenge they would basically be exhausted. How could they fight a second time? "Brat, keep bragging. Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? Courting death, this is simply courting death. I can't take it anymore." Many disciples who supported Zhao Ziqing shouted and cursed. Most of them were ridiculing Lin Xian. After all, he was a core disciple and had a lot of underlings. Senior Zhao doesn't need to do anything. I can take care of you alone. A figure quickly came from afar. It was like a purple cloud floating in the sky. This person's feet did not touch the ground. He stepped in the air as if he was walking on air. However, everyone knew that this was not flying. This was an extremely high level of lightness skill. In an instant, this figure landed on the stage and won a lot of applause. Good, too beautiful. Stepping on air, this is stepping on air. This is too shocking. Many disciples cried out one after another in surprise. Of course, the one who had such lightness skill was Dong Ying. He landed on the stage and looked down at Lin Xian. Brat, you dare to challenge me? You're dead. Last time you dared to talk back to my master in public. See how I deal with you. Dong Ying's eyes flashed with a cold light like a poisonous snake. Cut the crap. Come and die. Lin Xian was like a peerless king. His black hair fluttered and his eyes were like lightning. There was a sharp aura around him. You're courting death. Dong Ying roared. His feet stepped on the ground and his body suddenly disappeared. So fast. Many inner disciples could not see Dong Ying's movements clearly. Only a few disciples with high cultivation and core disciples could see the situation in the arena. Lin Xian's eyes flashed and an orange light appeared in his eyes. The purple spirit pupil was backed by a strong soul force. Could see all illusions. Of course it could see Dong Ying's movements clearly. In his eyes, Dong Ying's movements were very clear. Under the effect of the purple spirit pupil, Dong Ying's movements were much slower. Taking 3 steps back, Lin Xian's face was calm. The next moment, at the place where he was standing, there was a strong wind and Dong Ying's figure appeared. He actually dodged it? Dong Ying was stunned and disappeared again. Impossible, he must have guessed it. Guessed it. Senior Dong, go for it. Kick him to death. Below, a group of disciples cheered as if Dong Ying had already won. Chapter 110. The movement technique that Dong Ying was so proud of was completely grasped by Lin Xian's purple spirit eyes. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Dong Ying's attacks were as fast as lightning, and after each attack, he would disappear. The disciples below the stage watched nervously. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly attacked. He stomped his right foot on the ground, and the force caused the entire stage to tremble. Gotcha! Countless cracks spread out like a python's web, quickly spreading in all directions. A violent energy wave surged like a tide. With Lin Xian as the center, a translucent airwave swept out in all directions. Poof! Dong Ying's body stiffened, and he was shaken out of his original form. His eyes were filled with horror. Your speed is useless against me. Lin Xian's voice was cold. Useless. Dong Ying sneered. That's because you haven't seen my true strength. Now I'll show you. The purple light on his body was like a flame, and it was dazzling. Ghost Lion Chain Shot. On his legs, purple flames rolled and formed into a lion's head. It roared ferociously and let out a clanging sound. Swoosh! Dong Ying's body disappeared. In the next moment he was in front of Lin Xian. Both of his legs kicked continuously, and every attack caused the air to explode. It was as if countless lions were pouncing. Their roars shook the sky, and the sky was filled with purple shadows that drowned Lin Xian. An invisible pressure filled the air, and it was impenetrable. This was a very shocking scene. Those purple lions were comparable to small mountains. Just their roars were enough to make the blood of the surrounding disciples boil. Since junior brother Dong had used the Ghost Lion Chain Shot, there was no suspense in this battle. Zhao Ziqing said indifferently, even I wouldn't dare to take this move head-on. That Lin Xian actually didn't dodge. He's courting death. After hearing this, the disciples around him were excited. Zhao Ziqing was ranked 5th, and he was also a body-refining martial artist. Since he had spoken, Lin Xian would definitely die. Go senior brother Dong. A group of disciples cheered. At the same time, Lin Xian's expression didn't change at all in the face of such a powerful move. Under the observation of purple spirit eyes, he could clearly see Dong Ying's position through the layers of purple shadows. Lin Xian's feet suddenly shook, and a golden light flashed. Lin Xian's body rose from the ground like a sharp sword, quickly piercing through everything. His 5 claws formed into the shape of a dragon, and with lightning speed he grabbed Dong Ying's right leg. So fast. Zhao Ziqing's expression changed drastically. Even Tang Yi, Xiangchen, and the others narrowed their eyes as they stared at Lin Xian. What? Dong Ying was even more shocked. He was known for his speed, but he actually couldn't dodge. Get lost. Dong Ying was furious. Purple light blossomed from his body and engulfed him. Powerful spiritual energy surged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian was not afraid. His physical body had been cultivated and was already very strong. Even if he encountered a body refinement martial artist, he would not be afraid. His body fell like a meteor, and he raised Dong Ying high in the air before smashing her to the ground. Bang! With a loud bang, the center of the arena was penetrated. A large pit several feet deep appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Debris flew everywhere, and the scene was extremely chaotic. The onlooking disciples gasped. Fan Chong, who was in the crowd, saw this and trembled uncontrollably. His forehead was covered in cold sweat, and his fear of Lin Xian deepened. Ah! I'm going to kill you. In the deep pit, Dong Ying screamed at the top of his lungs. This blow injured him quite badly. Some parts of the protective shield on his body were broken. His face was covered in dust, and his hair was disheveled. He looked battered and exhausted. However, no matter how angry he was, he could not break free from Lin Xian's control. That pair of big hands was like an iron clamp, firmly locking his right leg. You're a body refinement martial artist. Dong Ying was shocked. He was known for his speed, and he was not good at fighting in a standing position. Especially when facing a body refinement martial artist, he needed to stay far away. Lin Xian did not answer him. Instead, he jumped up again and brought Dong Ying up into the air. No, you can't do this. Dong Ying screamed. Bang! With another loud bang, Dong Ying's body smashed another big pit. However, this was not the end. Lin Xian moved again. Bang! 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 The entire arena was about to collapse. The surrounding disciples stared blankly at this scene. Zhao Ziqing's face was extremely gloomy. He wanted nothing more than to send Lin Xian flying. Dong Ying was not only a core disciple, but also a fellow disciple of Elder Shui. Lin Xian's actions were undoubtedly a provocation to him and Elder Shui. How could he tolerate this? On the side, Tang Yi looked at Lin Xian and asked in a low voice. What do you think? Beside him, Xiang Chen's eyes flashed. It seems that he's a body refinement martial artist like Zhao Ziqing. However, he has comprehended sword essence. It's really difficult to see through him. Maybe he hasn't shown his true strength. He's just playing around. Tang Yi's voice was more serious. Xiang Chen did not say anything. Instead, he looked at Lin Xian again. In the arena, Dong Ying's head was spinning and his body was about to fall apart. The purple spiritual power became dim as if it would disappear at any time. Okay, you win. Zhao Ziqing gritted his teeth and said. He could see that Dong Ying was about to die. He could not even circulate his spiritual power. If this continued, he would definitely die. Whoosh! Lin Xian swung his arm and threw Dong Ying out. Then he looked at Zhao Ziqing. You're the next one. Everyone held their breaths and watched nervously. They were afraid that they would miss something. As you wish. Zhao Ziqing laughed sinisterly. He leaped up and jumped onto the stage, leaving 2 deep footprints on the ground. I'll show you what a body refinement martial artist is. Zhao Ziqing growled. His body turned into a shadow and rushed out. In a few steps, he was in front of Lin Xian. Bang! The air trembled as he punched. Even the arena under his feet shook as if it would collapse at any time. His arm was like a dragon. It was ferocious and powerful. Could kill everything. Lin Xian did not dodge. He waved his fist and met the attack. He wanted to test how strong his body had become. Boom! The 2 fists collided. It was as if thunder had struck down. A wave of aura erupted and blew everything around them away. The 2 figures stood firmly like 2 boulders. Neither of them retreated. He can fight Zhao Ziqing head-on. Isn't he a sword cultivator? Why is his body so abnormal? Cries of surprise rang out one after another. Almost everyone knew that Lin Xian had comprehended sword intent, but no one had expected that he would not use his sword. but directly use his physical body to fight. That's terrifying. Is he still human? Zhao Ziqing's eyes were full of disbelief. It was no wonder. A person's energy was limited. They could only focus on one direction. Zhao Ziqing focused on body refinement. As far as he knew, sword cultivators were even more focused. They were not like Lin Xian. He did not comprehend sword intent. Instead, he focused on body refinement. Chapter 111. The muscles on Zhao Ziqing's body bulged like horned dragons, looking ferocious and horrifying. He roared towards the sky and used all of his strength. His arms grew to the size of a person, with tiny scales growing on them. It was as if he had turned into a demonic beast. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He felt the pressure from his opponent, but he did not resist it. Instead, he retreated at lightning speed. Rumble. Lin Xian left a golden shadow on the spot, then dodged to the side. Puff. Zhao Ziqing was like a demonic beast with infinite strength. His two fists killed the shadow left by Lin Xian. Run? Let's see where you can run to. Zhao Ziqing looked crazy like a demonic beast. Lin Xian did not compete with him in terms of physical strength. Instead, he took out the red flame sword, and a powerful sword intent burst out from his body. His eyes were full of fighting spirit. That was just a warm-up. Now is the time for the real battle. Lin Xian looked indifferent like a sword god reborn. Countless sword chi surrounded his body. As he threw out his sword, the blue spirit power gathered into a sword light, forming a sword rain that covered the sky. Every sword contained the half-step sword intent, and the horrifying power made people despair. Is this sword intent? It is indeed horrifying. Many core disciples' faces changed, and they looked at Lin Xian with fear. The long sword roared, and the sword chi soared into the sky. Just the aftermath was enough to make them tremble, not to mention Zhao Ziqing, who was covered in it. Iron body arts. Facing such a horrifying attack, Zhao Ziqing's mouth twitched. He shouted, and a layer of silver cuticle quickly formed on his body, making him look like he was made of copper and iron. Clang! 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 The sword chi hit his body, making the sound of metal clashing. It made people's eardrums tremble. The ordinary inner disciples were scared by this scene, and even the core disciples frowned. This kind of attack was impossible to dodge, and the only way was to take it head-on. When the sword rain disappeared, the whole arena was like a sieve. There was not a single place that was intact. Zhao Ziqing's body was also covered with sword marks, and the densely packed wounds were frightening. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Zhao Ziqing shouted crazily. Wind-ripping hand. The two gigantic palms pulled forcefully, and the air in front of them was sucked away. It was as if space was being split into two halves. That kind of power was capable of tearing people apart. Crack. Half of the arena was cut open by this force, and it continued to spread into the distance. It was too terrifying. This kind of strength was not something an ordinary pulse condensation martial artist could produce. It had already surpassed the limits of the human body. Let's end this. Lin Xian used the phantom thunder steps and turned into an arc of lightning, quickly escaping from that space. With a slash of his sword, a thunderbolt sword chi formed in the air. With the power of the half-step sword intent, it slashed down with a loud bang. Crack! Crack! No matter how strong Zhao Ziqing's body was, it was still unable to withstand the might of this half-step sword intent. His body was sent flying, and there was a half-foot-long wound in front of him. His bones were vaguely visible. In the field, Lin Xian's black hair fluttered in the wind. His body was still filled with a terrifying sword intent. Golden arcs of electricity formed small swords around his body that constantly swam. A single sword strike sent Zhao Ziqing flying. This kind of power was unparalleled. Several disciples quickly carried the heavily injured Zhao Ziqing away and left without looking back. One could imagine that this matter would sweep through the entire inner sect. Tang Yi and Xiang Chun looked at Lin Xian in the field, their eyes filled with fighting spirit. If nothing unexpected happened, this youth would be their greatest enemy. Withdrawing his sword intent, Lin Xian greeted the two of them and then quickly left. He had obtained the core disciple spot, and now he just had to wait to enter the trial of blood and fire. In the following days, besides Lin Xian, There were also people who began to challenge the core disciples, but their chances of winning were not high. After all, the core disciples represented the highest level of the sect, and the resources they enjoyed were far superior to the ordinary disciples. But there was an exception. That was Shangguan Liyun, who had entered the inner sect with Lin Xian. He had defeated the 10th core disciple and obtained a spot. Moreover, Dong Ying and Zhao Zhiqing had both been injured, and both of them had been forced out of the core disciple spot. 10 days later, the sect announced the final spots. Among the core disciples, apart from Lin Xian, Shangguan Liyun, and a female disciple called Yunyue, the rest were all Yuan core disciples. The remaining 5 were Murong Qinling, Zhang Jun, Kong Hao Guojia, and Hung Feng. These 5 were all direct disciples of inner sect elders. They were powerful and had all entered the Sea of Soul realm. Moreover, they were all under the age of 24, completely meeting the criteria to enter the trial of blood and fire. Among them, Murong Qinling was Elder Hua's disciple, and Zhang Jun was Elder Shui's disciple. This news made Lin Xian slightly stunned. He did not expect Elder Shui to have a disciple, and one whose strength had reached the Sea of Soul realm. 5 days later, these 15 people would gather in front of the main hall and be led by the sect elders to the trial of blood and fire. Many disciples sighed helplessly, lamenting that they had no fate with the trial of blood and fire. There were also some younger disciples who were determined to participate in the next trial. As for the 15 people who obtained the spots, they were wholeheartedly preparing for the trial. Lin Xian's cultivation these few days was very simple. He did not learn any new martial arts, but instead continuously consolidated his existing martial arts. Moreover, he used tenfold gravity and spirit wine to temper his martial arts every day. On the 3rd day, Murong Qinling found Lin Xian and went with him to see Elder Hua. Elder Hua was the woman in palace attire that day. She was Murong Qianling's master, and had also entered the trial of blood and fire. This time she called Lin Xian and Murong Qinling over to inform them of some information inside. The trial of blood and fire opened once every 7 years. The Black Sky sect had been established for 600 years, and during this period of time, it was unknown how many times they had entered. Although the situation was not exactly the same every time, the general information was still groped out. Lin Xian was currently holding a map in his hand. It was a map of the trial of blood and fire. On it were mountains, forests, rivers, and palaces. It was like a small world. Entering the trial of blood and fire is only an opportunity. As for whether you can change your destiny inside, that will depend on your own luck. Elder Hua simply said. The inside is generally divided into 3 areas. The first is the outer area. There is not much danger there, and there are not many precious resources. When you are in the outer area, you should be careful of the disciples of other factions. The second area is the blood and fire forest. There are all kinds of demonic beasts hiding inside. There are 2 areas that are listed as forbidden areas. One is the Bat Cave. There is a peak 3rd-rank demonic beast hibernating inside. It is the Bat King. If you encounter it, there is almost no chance of escaping. The other area is a mysterious valley. No one knows what is inside. Anyone who approaches it will inexplicably die. You must not go to these 2 areas. Lin Xian memorized the 2 forbidden areas and then continued to listen. The 3rd area is the Blood Palace. That is the true treasure land. There are countless pills, weapons, and cultivation methods. In the past, many pulse condensation disciples entered, but when they came out, they were already Sea of Soul realm martial artists. Not only does it save you years of bitter cultivation, but the martial artists who advance inside are clearly stronger than ordinary Sea of Soul realm martial artists. Chapter 112. Moreover, it is said that there are martial arts inheritances inside. Whoever obtains them will not only have their strength increased greatly, but it will also not be difficult for them to enter the 3 spirit realms. Elder Hua said in a deep voice. So there is such a saying. No wonder so many inner disciples want to enter. Lin Xian thought. The 3 spirit realms were divided into the harmonious spirit realm, the spirit detecting realm, and the spirit transformation realm. Elder Hua was a harmonious spirit realm martial artist. Although she looked like she was in her 30s, her actual age was more than 100 years old. After all, after entering the 3 spirit realms, A martial artist's lifespan would increase greatly. This was the most attractive part. Martial artists in the three spirit realms could usually live up to 300 years old. It was rumored that some old monsters in the spirit transformation realm could live up to 400 or 500 years old without a problem. Regarding the inheritance, you don't need to force it. This thing depends on luck. I want to remind you of something else. If you find any herbs, weapons, or cultivation methods inside, you can hand them over to the sect if you don't need them. Of course, the sect will also give you the same amount of spirit stones or other resources to exchange. As for cultivation methods, even if you hand them over, you can still cultivate them. Following that, Elder Hua talked about some of the resources and cultivation methods that the sect cared about. She also talked about the things that could be exchanged. Most of them were spirit stones. Among them, high-grade profound ranked martial arts could be exchanged for 500 mid-grade spirit stones. Low-grade spirit ranked martial arts could be exchanged for 3,000 mid-grade spirit stones. That was 300,000 low-grade spirit stones. Lin Xian heard this price and couldn't help but sigh. It seemed that spirit-ranked martial arts were also good things for the sect. As for other things, Elder Hua didn't say too much. After all, each entry was different. Moreover, many things had to be fought for with one's own strength. After bidding farewell to Elder Hua, Lin Xian returned to his residence. After organizing the information he obtained, Lin Xian found that the most important thing was the blood-colored palace. Not only were there many resources, there was also the legendary martial arts inheritance. Moreover, the most important point was that breaking through in the blood-colored trial ground would be better than breaking through in the outside world. This gave Lin Xian a new idea. Originally, he wanted to break through to the 9th-rank meridian condensing realm in these 2 days. However, he temporarily suppressed his own cultivation and prepared to break through after entering the blood-colored trial ground. Moreover, his final goal was to enter the Sea of Souls realm in the trial ground, which would have a significant impact on his future strength. In a great hall of the Black Heaven sect, Elder Shui sat with a gloomy expression. His eyes were burning with anger. Beside him, a young man was pouring tea. 2 pieces of trash. They were actually wounded by a mere 8th-stage meridian period brat. You've missed out on the right to participate in the trial by fire. His tone was so cold that the entire hall was filled with a chill. The tea-pouring youth smiled faintly. Actually, you can't blame the 2 junior brothers. After all, the attack power of a martial artist who has comprehended sword intent can't be estimated by his cultivation. However, master, don't worry. Even a peerless genius is nothing before he grows up. The young man's voice was filled with disdain and a strong murderous intent. Let him stay in the trial of blood and fire forever. Elder Shui looked at the disciple in satisfaction and said, killing him is a small matter. The most important thing is the inheritance in the blood palace. As far as I know, there is more than one kind of inheritance inside. Moreover, this is the first time the seal has loosened in the past 100 years. It will last for as long as a month. You must seize this opportunity. I understand. The young man's eyes burned with passion. Yinzhou Ling family. As one of the 4 great families, the Ling family had 10 spots. These 10 people were the genius disciples of the Ling family and represented the future hope of the Ling family. As the grandson of a Ling family elder, Ling Zhe naturally received a spot. Moreover, he had reported Lin Xian's matter to the family and requested that the family kill Lin Xian. He has comprehended sword intent and is an enemy of the Ling family. Naturally, we must eliminate him. The Ling family elder coldly said. After entering the trial of blood and fire, you can eliminate him. Remember, you must do it covertly. Do not let the Black Sky sect find out. Yes, the group of Ling family disciples respectfully said. The day before departure, Lin Xian was summoned again. This time, it was the purple-robed man who had sat in the clouds that day. His name was Duan Muqing and he was the sect's great elder. He looked at Lin Xian and faintly sighed. I originally wanted you to enter the trial by fire next time. With your current cultivation, it is a bit too much. However, since you insist, I will not stop you. Elder Duanmu waved his sleeve and 2 items appeared in his hand. One was a rusty armor that was damaged in some places. It looked ordinary and even a bit tattered. The other item was a yellowed talisman. These two items were obtained from the trial of blood and fire. This armor can defend against all attacks below the Spirit Sea realm. Even against a Spirit Sea realm martial artist, it can withstand a few attacks. With it, as long as you don't enter the forbidden area, you will have no problem staying alive. Elder Duanmu said in a deep voice. You have comprehended sword intent. If nothing unexpected happens, your future achievements will definitely surpass us. Therefore, there are some places where you do not need to take risks. As for this item, it is a high-grade talisman. It can kill a Spirit Sea realm martial artist in one strike. However, it can only be used once. Unless it is absolutely necessary, do not use it. Lin Xian received the two treasures and respectfully said, Thank you, Great Elder. This disciple will definitely return safely. Time quickly passed, and in the blink of an eye, it was the day of departure. Early in the morning, the sky was overcast. A fine drizzle floated in the sky, shrouding the surroundings with a hazy feeling. Lin Xian and the other disciples participating in the Trial of Trials had already arrived in front of the main hall to wait. Among these disciples, the ones with the highest cultivation were Murong Qianling and Zhang Jun, who had reached the second layer of the Spirit Sea realm. The other three personal disciples were at the first layer of the Spirit Sea realm. The head disciple of the core disciples, Wan Jianxing, was also at the first layer of the Spirit Sea realm. The other disciples were at the 9th layer of the Meridian's condensing stage. Among them, Lin Xian's cultivation was the weakest, at the 8th layer of the Meridian's condensing stage. However, no core disciple dared to underestimate him. After all, he defeated Zhao Ziqing and Dong Ying, and his strength could be ranked in the top 5 among the core disciples. What was surprising was that Shangguan Luyin's cultivation had also reached the 9th layer of the Meridian's condensing stage. His aura was as heavy as a mountain. Looks like everyone has a fortuitous encounter. Lin Xian thought to himself as he looked at Shangguan Luyun. Feeling Lin Xian's gaze, Shangguan Luyun nodded slightly. The two of them weren't familiar with each other, but after all, they had fought once and had a certain understanding of each other's temperament. Lin Xian, this time, I definitely won't lose to you. Fighting spirit surged in Shangguan Luyin's eyes. I won't either. Lin Xian's words were filled with confidence. Humph. An indifferent cold snort was heard, containing disdain and a trace of killing intent. Shangguan Luyun was silent, and Lin Xian looked towards the source of the sound. In front, a youth with an evil smile stood with his hands behind his back. As his eyes opened and closed, there was a flicker of light. Among them, he inadvertently looked towards Lin Xian, and his gaze was like looking down on an ant. Zhang Jun. Lin Xian's heart sank slightly. Among these people, the only one he was wary of was this Zhang Jun. Not only was he a martial artist at the second layer of the Spirit Sea realm, he was also Elder Shue's disciple. Chapter 113. As long as I enter the Spiritual Sea realm, I won't be afraid of any of them. Lin Xian was confident. The only thing he lacked was time to cultivate. Moreover, as far as he knew, after entering the trial grounds, the location would be randomly teleported. As long as his luck wasn't too bad, he wouldn't meet Zhang Jun in the early stages. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian calmed himself down and waited quietly. An hour later, a few powerful auras appeared. 5 elders broke through the air and landed in front of the main hall. Among them were Elder Duanmu, Elder Hua, Elder Shui, and 2 other sect elders. The 5 of them were like 5 mountains blocking the crowd. Greetings, elders. The disciples said respectfully. Elder Duanmu waved his sleeves and a white jade spirit boat appeared in front of everyone. It was more than 100 feet long and was richly decorated. It looked like a small palace. Let's go, Elder Duanmu said in a deep voice. Suddenly, dozens of figures leaped up and entered the white jade spirit boat. A dazzling light flashed and the white jade spirit boat turned into a ray of light, quickly disappearing into the horizon. At the same time, the other forces in Cloud State also moved to the trial grounds. In the center of Cloud State there was a valley in the Cloud Sea. It was covered in clouds all year round and was like a fairyland. There were few people here, but at this moment the valley was very lively. Martial artists in different clothes gathered in the valley. Some sat cross-legged to rest, while others whispered to each other. Suddenly, a ray of light flashed in the sky, penetrating the layers of clouds and shining into the valley. It was like a meteor quickly falling down. Rumble, when the ray of light was about to reach the ground, it suddenly stopped, revealing its original form. A huge spirit boat that was more than 100 feet long floated in the air. It was pure white like a fine jade. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A few figures jumped down from it. Then the white jade spirit boat flashed and disappeared. This group of people was naturally Lin Xian and the others. After half a day of high-speed flight, they finally arrived at the Cloud Sea Valley. "Brother Duanmu, how have you been?" Just as Lin Xian and the others landed, several voices rang out. They were all greetings and most of them were looking for the sect elders. Seizing the opportunity, Lin Xian looked around. Many forces from all directions were looking at Lin Xian's disciples with hostility. However, the elders of the various clans were like old friends who had not seen each other for many years, and they all came to greet them. "Let's find a place to rest first." Within the younger generation, Murong Qianling and Zheng Jun's cultivation were the highest, so they were temporarily the leaders. The group found a clean place and settled down. "So many experts." Shangguan Liyun sighed. Lin Xian nodded. He had just swept a glance and discovered that many people's auras were very powerful. A few of them were even not weaker than Murong Qianling and the others. There were more than a dozen Sea of Soul Realm warriors, and this was under the condition that not all of them had come. Tang Yi said to Lin Xian, "The duration of this trial is the longest in the past 100 years. Therefore, there are more participants than before." No wonder. Lin Xian and the others came to a realization. Then, many disciples laughed bitterly. It turned out that they had caught the most special time. At this moment, a light flashed in the sky again. A huge lotus-shaped flying object appeared in the sky, accompanied by a wave-like pressure. The light flashed and the huge lotus disappeared, and a group of people appeared in its place. A few elders with deep auras were welcomed away by the other old monsters. The remaining younger generation walked towards Lin Xian and the others. The few people in front had auras like the sea, unfathomable. "Murong, long time no see," a handsome young man said with a smile, with a trace of admiration in his eyes. "This is Xie Changfeng, second sky of Sea of Soul Realm cultivation, belonging to the direct disciple category." Tang Yi said in a low voice. The bronze-skinned youth beside him is Yuan Fei, Lotus Glory Sect's chief disciple. Everyone looked at the youth and saw that his body was no different from an adult. His muscles were like dragons full of strength. Feeling the gaze of Lin Xian and the others, the youth called Yuan Fei turned his head and grinned. Everyone was shocked. This youth's gaze was like a ferocious beast, making their hearts palpitate. "Senior brother Tang, who are the outstanding disciples of the other sects? Introduce them to us," a core disciple said. Tang Yi nodded and said in a low voice, "In the group of people in the east, the one wearing purple with a veil on her face is Zixia Fairy. She is also a genius on the Hidden Dragon ranking." Next to Zixia sect is the Ling clan of the four major clans. The leader is Ling Feng, whose strength is not weaker than the direct disciples of the three major sections. Moreover, he has a ferocious personality, so you must not provoke him. Lin Xian looked at the youth a few more times. Suddenly, he saw Ling Zhe in the crowd and was slightly shocked. "Ling Zhe is here. I think the Ling clan will also make a move against me." Lin Xian pondered. Seems like this trial is destined to not be peaceful. 2 hours later, everyone had arrived. The three major sects, the four major clans, and some loose cultivators had all entered. These disciples walked forward, waiting for the trial land of blood to open. Among them one Jianxing Yuan Fei, and the other disciples' gazes collided, creating sparks in the air. These people did not have anyone else in their eyes, so Lin Xian and the others were completely ignored. This was not surprising. After all, these people had already entered the Sea of Soul Realm, so they had no interest in core disciples who were still in the Pulse Condensation Realm. As for a genius like Lin Xian who had comprehended sword intent because he had just risen, his reputation was basically only spread within the sect. It was normal for the disciples of other sects not to know him. Of course, there were exceptions, such as the Ling clan disciples in Zhengjun, who all looked at Lin Xian with unkind expressions. Lin Xian sneered in his heart and ignored them. Not long after, an indescribable aura rushed over, creating waves of ripples in the valley. The surrounding fog dispersed, and the surrounding void trembled. Lightning flashed faintly and thunder roared. A moment later, a crack more than 100 feet long appeared out of nowhere. It was as if a giant abyss beast had opened its mouth, wanting to swallow everyone. When the crack stabilized, the elders of each sect formed seals, and a whirlpool-like entrance slowly formed. "Okay, you can go in now." The elders of each sect spoke. Immediately, nearly 100 disciples moved and entered the crack, disappearing from sight. The entire valley suddenly became much quieter, leaving only the elders of each sect in their original places. Among them, the elders of several aristocratic families had their eyes flickering. It was unknown what they were thinking. Wuxia sect's great elder also looked at the crack in the void with a complicated expression and sighed slightly. In a hidden place outside the valley, several mysterious figures in black robes gathered together and let out hoarse laughter. "They have successfully entered. As long as we can obtain that item, the time it takes for our sect to revive will be greatly reduced." There was a trace of excitement in their voices. Chapter 114. Felt like a moment but also like billions of years. With a flash of white light, Lin Xian's figure appeared. This was an unfamiliar place surrounded by trees. There was a river flowing in the distance, and there were also the cries of apes and beasts. Everywhere was filled with vitality. Such dense spirit qi. Lin Xian took a deep breath and felt that the spirit qi in his body was circulating at a much faster speed. No wonder so many people want to enter. Just the spirit qi here is several times denser than outside. What a great place. Lin Xian used his purple spirit eyes and soul power to explore the surroundings. Golden thread grass. Lin Xian was pleasantly surprised. His body flashed and disappeared. A dozen meters away, there was a palm-sized plant with 2 rows of symmetrical leaves. Each leaf seemed to be made of gold, shining brightly. "This is a 3rd-rank spirit grass. I didn't expect it to be so common here." Lin Xian put it into his storage ring. Spirit grass was also divided into different grades. Different grades of spirit grass could be used to make different grades of Dan. This 3rd-rank spirit grass could be considered a relatively high-grade spirit grass in Yunzhou. In the outside world, it could only be found in the depths of Taihang mountain range. "Seems like it won't be long before I can make a new spirit wine." Wine Lord's voice sounded in Lin Xian's mind. "According to the information, this is only the outer area. I wonder what good things there will be inside the Blood Palace." Lin Xian was full of expectations. Wine Lord used Lin Xian's soul power to feel around and said slowly, "You'd better break through to the Spirit Sea realm before going to the central area. Don't worry. With this kind of treasure it won't be hard to break through." Lin Xian changed into a flash of lightning and shuttled through the forest. With the help of his purple spirit eyes and soul power, he picked up a lot of spirit grass. Whoosh! When he reappeared, Lin Xian was near the river. There was a beautiful hydro flower. Lin Xian flashed and arrived at the river. He bent down and was about to pick it. At this moment, a few angry shouts came from behind him. "Stop! Get lost! Put down the spiritual grass or die." Lin Xian had long sensed the presence of these people, but in a place like this it was all about speed. How could he let go just because of a few threats? Lin Xian gently plucked the water flower and placed it into a jade box. Then, with a flip of his hand, he put it into his storage ring. "Brat, you're courting death." The people behind him saw Lin Xian leisurely put away the spiritual grass and immediately shouted, "He's actually at the 8th stage of the meridian condensation period. With this kind of strength, he dares to come to the trial by blood and fire. He's really looking to die. Judging from that brat storage ring's grade, there must be a lot of good stuff inside. Why don't we?" Several people sneered. The death rate in the bloody trial grounds was extremely high, so these disciples could kill people without any scruples. As long as they did it properly and weren't caught, no one could say anything. Of course, if the elders in the outside world knew about this, then it would be a different situation. These people saw that Lin Xian was alone and his cultivation was low, so they immediately had evil intentions. One of the disciples had the word Ling painted on his chest. He looked at Lin Xian with a ferocious expression. The Ling family disciple knew that Lin Xian had comprehended sword intent and was afraid of an accident, so he ordered everyone to attack together. "Everyone attack together, don't give this brat any chance." 3 ninth-level condensing period disciples' bodies bloomed with light. They attacked one after another, and a sky full of energy rushed towards Lin Xian. Under Purple Spirit Eye's powerful observation, these people's bodies were full of flaws. Lin Xian's fingertips emitted sword light that turned into lightning and stabbed out. Like golden lightning, the sword chi surged and instantly pierced through the 3 people. Puff, puff, puff. Lin Xian took the 3 people's storage rings and kicked them into the river. Killing people here was tacitly allowed, but if they were discovered, there would be a lot of trouble when they left. The 3 corpses fell into the river, creating 3 splashes. Puff, puff. Several ferocious-looking demonic beasts came out of the water. They opened their bloody mouths and instantly swallowed the 3 people. Blood immediately dyed the river red. These demonic beasts were like lizards and crocodiles. They were 2 meters long and covered in grayish-brown scales. Their sharp teeth were like saws shining with a dim light. These are mutated water crocodiles. See if there are any demonic crystals? Wine Lord reminded. Lin Xian didn't hesitate. Golden lightning flashed in his hand. He waved his hand and lightning surged. Golden lightning arcs crackled. Pung! 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 3 mutated water crocodiles were knocked over. Their bodies rolled on the ground, and their scales were charred black. Roar, roar. These water demons were angry. They let out a low roar, and their eyes glowed red. They viciously pounced on Lin Xian. Lin Xian was surprised. He didn't expect these demonic beasts' skin to be so thick. His attack just now would have seriously injured even a rank 9 Meridian condensing stage martial artist. But these mutated water crocodiles only rolled a few times. Interesting. Lin Xian condensed a sword light in his hand. He waved it out like lightning, forming the power of thunder and lightning in the air. Puff puff. The thunder and lightning sword was incomparably sharp. It pierced a thumb-sized bloody hole in the mutated water crocodiles. After a few more slashes, these water demons fell to the ground dead. Lin Xian quickly peeled them open and found a nail-sized dark red crystal. Is this a demonic crystal? Lin Xian played with it in his hand. Although this demonic crystal was small, it contained a powerful energy. Not only that, it was surrounded by traces of demonic energy. It was incomparably demonic. Let's see if we can gather 10. If we can, I can make you a bottle of crystal vein wine. I guarantee you will break through after drinking it. Wine Lord said with a smile. Really? Lin Xian was overjoyed. He put away the 3 demonic crystals, and then kicked the mutated crocodile's corpse into the water to attract more water demons. Sure enough, as the blood scattered, more figures appeared under the water. A few impatiently went ashore and attacked Lin Xian. Lin Xian waved his sword chi and fought with the mutated water crocodiles. The surging energy attracted the nearby martial artists. Who is this person? He's so powerful. Although his cultivation is low, his swordsmanship is too sharp. Nearby, several pairs of eyes stared at Lin Xian and whispered to each other. They didn't show themselves but hid in the woods. Looking at his appearance, he should be collecting demonic crystals. Does he want to swallow them? Impossible. Those demonic beasts need a special secret technique to refine. If an ordinary martial artist absorbs them, they will be assimilated by the demonic energy. Several people doubted. Maybe this person has such a secret technique. Should we make a move? Let's wait and see. I feel that his swordsmanship has an inexplicable power. Just as these people were hesitating, a powerful aura quickly rushed over. That aura was like the sea, surging violently without any concealment. It was incomparably arrogant. Not good, it's a Sea of Soul Realm martial artist. Retreat. The faces of the people hiding in the dark changed, and they all fled. These people were all Pulse Condensation Stage 9 martial artists, and some were even at the peak of the Pulse Condensation Stage. But compared to a Sea of Soul Realm martial artist, they were nothing. Once a martial artist entered the Sea of Soul Realm, his strength would increase tremendously. Moreover, he would have the ability to release spirit power and transform spirit power. It was not something a Pulse Condensation Stage martial artist could compare with. Chapter 115. Lin Xian had already sensed the presence of people nearby, but they were all at the 9th level of the Meridian Condensing Stage and couldn't affect him. When the Spirit Sea Realm martial artist arrived, Lin Xian's face changed. At this time, a huge mutated crocodile appeared in the river. It was more than 10 meters long, and the demonic aura on its body soared to the sky. As soon as this crocodile came ashore, it opened its bloody mouth and spat out a column of water that pierced through. Lin Xian's body flashed and dodged the attack. He didn't immediately counterattack because the Spirit Sea Realm martial artist had already arrived nearby. Sure enough, a figure floated to the ground and let out a light sound of surprise. What a thick demonic aura. I just happen to be lacking a water-type demonic beast core. It seems that the heavens are treating me well. This was a young man wearing a long gown. His appearance was ordinary, but his eyes were incomparably sharp. He looked at Lin Xian and coldly shouted, "Little brat, you can scram now." Lin Xian's mouth curved into a smile, his voice firm. "This is mine. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." The ordinary young man sneered. His aura suddenly bloomed like a volcano erupting, sweeping out in all directions. The young man looked down at Lin Xian. In his opinion, as long as he released the aura of the Spirit Sea Realm, this little brat would be scared witless. However, Lin Xian still smiled, his body like a boulder unmoved. But that demonic beast felt this aura and growled, becoming extremely uneasy. Maybe he doesn't know the Spirit Sea Realm. The ordinary young man frowned, his heart abnormally angry. Usually, when those meridian condensing stage martial artists saw him, which one of them didn't speak humbly and respectfully? Looks like I need to remind him. The ordinary young man's face was gloomy. "Little brat, I'm a Spirit Sea Realm martial artist, aren't you afraid?" Finished speaking, he waved his hand, and a huge hazy palm of light appeared and slapped at the crocodile. Pung! The crocodile screamed as its body was smashed into pieces. Blood splattered all over the ground. "You should be scared now." The ordinary young man killed the crocodile with one palm and felt great. He wanted to enjoy Lin Xian's frightened expression. However, Lin Xian only frowned. Other than that, there was no other change. The young man didn't know that Lin Xian's heart was also in turmoil. It was his first time witnessing the power of a Sea of Soul Realm warrior, and he yearned for it. But it would be impossible for him to give up on this crocodile. "Scram!" Lin Xian shouted coldly. This young man's expression made him loathe him. He could tell at a glance that he was a bastard who bullied the weak. The young man was slightly stunned. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that Lin Xian would actually dare to scold him. Who was he? Sea of Souls Realm martial artist. And Lin Xian was only a little disciple at the 8th stage of meridian condensation. Does he have something to rely on? The young man was slightly startled. He quickly scanned his surroundings. Some aristocratic families would indeed send powerful cultivators to protect them. After the young man scanned the surroundings, he didn't find anyone. His face instantly darkened. A little pulse condensation period martial artist dared to insult him. How could he not be angry? "Kid, your fate will be even worse than that monster beast's." The young man's palm glowed as he suddenly waved it out. A half-meter-long palm of light flew out, quickly moving through the air. Wherever it passed, grass and trees would be cut apart. It was as if a small mountain was crashing down, and the pressure was frightening. Phantom thunderstep. Lin Xian's body flashed, disappearing from his original position and reappearing in another direction. The place where he had been standing had been shattered into pieces. Not bad. The young man's eyes flashed with a cold light. "If this is what you rely on, then you can go die." Before his voice faded, the young man's body disappeared, and he reappeared in front of Lin Xian. So fast. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He could only catch a trace of an afterimage. This kind of speed had completely surpassed the limits of meridian condensation. No wonder this young man was so arrogant. A pair of palms appeared above his head. A violent surge of spiritual power gushed out like lava. Scram! Lin Xian revolved the spiritual power in his body to the limit. At the same time, he activated his half-step sword intent to resist the palm of light. Sword energy rushed out, revealing its sharpness. It was like a divine sword leaving its sheath, frustrating the mind. What? Although the young man's cultivation was strong, his soul and willpower were ordinary. In the face of such a close sword intent, he simply couldn't withstand it. Pung! The palm of light had just condensed when it scattered in his panic. His body moved and he quickly left Lin Xian. Sword intent. This is sword intent. The young man cried out involuntarily. At the same time there was a deep jealousy in his eyes. This kind of concept was incomparably ethereal. How could an 8th-stage meridian condensation period boy comprehend sword intent? Although he was jealous, the young man didn't attack. The fear in his heart prevailed. Facing Lin Xian, although his cultivation wasn't high, he was like a sword demon. His killing intent was astonishing, and his eyes flashed with an orange light. Humph, it's just a second-rank monster. What's the harm in letting you have it? The young man snorted and ran away. Lin Xian had already decided to fight with his life on the line, but he didn't expect his opponent to run away. He didn't dare to be careless. With sword intent on his body, he slashed the dead crocodile and sucked the walnut-sized monster crystal into his hand. Against a sea of Soul Realm martial artist, it's still too difficult. It seems that I need to hurry and advance. Don't worry, with this monster crystal and spirit grass, I can quickly concoct a spirit wine suitable for you. Winelord said in a low voice. Lin Xian nodded. At the same time, he raised his spirit and ran away. At the same time, in the other areas of the trial by Bloodland, various things were happening. Some powerful disciples walked out of the outer area and entered the Blood Forest. Their speed was several times faster than ordinary disciples. Among them Murong Qianling, Tang Yi, and the others were carefully moving forward. Zheng Jun was moving with some other disciples. In the dense forest, a white-robed young man waved his blade. Blade Qi spanned more than 10 meters and split a monster in half. Behind him, Ling Zhe and the others looked on with envy. In another direction, a group of young girls in purple robes walked through the forest. One of them was actually Fairy Zixia. Her purple robes fluttered and her face was covered with a veil. She looked like a fairy. However, if one looked carefully, they would find that the leader of this group wasn't her, but an ordinary-looking girl. The others were faintly afraid of this girl. Even Fairy Zixia had a trace of fear in her eyes. Where is the Bat Cave? The ordinary girl asked. Southeast direction. Fairy Zixia said respectfully. This group of people actually wanted to go to the Bat Cave. That was a forbidden area of the trial by fire. Besides this mysterious girl, there were also some other hidden forces. A disciple of the Chun family, who was running, suddenly stopped. Black fog rolled around his body. Ah! This disciple let out a blood-curdling scream. His scream was terrifying, scaring away some nearby wild beasts. Fortunately, there was no one nearby, or else they would have been scared away. After a moment, this Chun family disciple stopped screaming and slowly stood up. His movements were somewhat stiff, and his eyes flickered with a red light. Chapter 116. Lin Xian was not in a hurry to enter the Scarlet Forest. Instead, he cultivated on the outskirts. When night fell, Lin Xian started a bonfire by the river. He killed a wild beast and put it on the fire. He took out a small purple gourd and drank a small mouthful. Then he closed his eyes and condensed his qi, refining it. Lin Xian drank the spirit wine that Winelord had just made. It contained 10 beast cores and a few third-rank spirit herbs. Contained a lot of energy. If Lin Xian hadn't gone through tenfold training and strengthened his body, he wouldn't have dared to drink it. His body emitted a faint light. Lin Xian quickly circulated the art of long life and drank the spirit wine. After a while, he opened his eyes and clearly felt that the spirit power in his body had increased by a lot. Tearing a piece of meat, Lin Xian slowly ate it. After a while, Lin Xian ate a piece of meat and drank a mouthful of spirit wine, refining it. Finally, the spirit meridians in his body roared. The 9th spirit meridian was finally unimpeded under the impact of this huge power. At this point, Lin Xian's 9 spirit meridians were all opened. The 9 spirit meridians shook together like raging waves hitting the shore. Multicolored light soared into the sky as if a god had descended. Lin Xian felt the abundant power in his body and couldn't help but clench his fists. He now had the confidence to fight with a martial artist at the first sky of the spiritual ocean realm. He was one step closer to the spiritual ocean realm. Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of turbid air. He drank another mouthful of spirit wine and found that the effect had decreased a lot. If he wanted to break through to the spiritual ocean realm, He would need to change to another type of wine. Wine Lord said leisurely. I'll give you the materials. When you've collected them, I'll start refining. Lin Xian's mind moved. Some materials appeared in his mind. They were obviously one level higher than the spirit wine. Memorizing these materials, Lin Xian began to relax and taste the game. GG. Ho ho. A few black shadows flashed nearby, making rustling sounds. Lin Xian sneered in his heart. He had just advanced and wanted to test his battle strength. He didn't expect someone to come knocking on his door so quickly. Who? Whoosh. Those figures seemed to be unable to hold themselves back and began to move towards the bonfire. GG. The figures approached carefully and looked at Lin Xian cautiously. Lin Xian was stunned. His raised hand stopped in midair. He stared blankly in front of him and suddenly made a face. It turned out that these black shadows were actually a few small white monkeys. They were about half the height of a human and looked very cute. Seeing Lin Xian's grimace, the 5 little monkeys were obviously shocked, but after discovering that there was no danger, they all copied Lin Xian and made grimace. Lin Xian was also amused by these little creatures. He realized that other than looking at him, these little monkeys were also staring at the barbecued meat on the grill. Monkeys like meat too? Lin Xian was puzzled, but he subconsciously tore a piece and threw it over. GG. GG. The few little monkeys fought over it and quickly finished the meat. Then they stared at Lin Xian with their big eyes, trying to please him. Lin Xian found it funny and threw the rest of the barbecued meat over. After a while, only bones were left on the ground. However, these little monkeys still looked at Lin Xian pitifully. No more. Lin Xian spread his hands and pointed at the bonfire, making an expression that said, I can't do anything about it. Unexpectedly, the few monkeys discussed for a while, and then began to run around looking for game. Lin Xian's eyes glowed orange and saw everything clearly. He was worried that these little monkeys would be in danger. Roar! A demon wolf with green wings was angered by the few little creatures. It roared and was about to pounce. Lin Xian frowned and was about to save them. In the next moment he was stunned again. The few cute little monkeys suddenly grew 2 to 3 meters tall. Their muscles were as firm as a small mountain. After a series of punches and kicks, they killed the demon wolf with green wings. Then they happily carried the wolf's corpse to Lin Xian. Whoosh! The few little monkeys shrunk and looked very cute. Lin Xian's mouth twitched and then he secretly swallowed his saliva. The trial of blood and fire was truly a terrifying place. Even the cute little monkeys could turn into demons in an instant. Could these monkeys be of that species? Wine Lord suddenly said and then muttered to himself, That's not right. There's something different. Lin Xian listened for a while but did not understand. With the monkeys constantly urging him, he quickly began to process the green-winged demon wolf. Not long after piece of wolf meat was placed on the fire rack, emitting crackling sounds. The little white monkey sat opposite Lin Xian and waited anxiously. Time gradually passed and the wolf meat began to turn yellow. A layer of fat seeped out and fell into the fire, emitting sizzling sounds. Waves of meat fragrance wafted out and the golden wolf meat gradually formed. Lin Xian divided the wolf meat and then passed it to them. The few little monkeys swept through the wolf like a whirlwind, and soon, the wolf was completely devoured. GG. GG. The little white monkeys danced and pulled Lin Xian's pants from time to time, as if inviting him. You want me to go with you? Lin Xian asked. GG. The little monkeys quickly nodded and then led the way. Although these monkeys were small and cute, they were not slow at all. They used the branches to constantly ripple in the air. Lin Xian had to use his footwork to keep up with them. After running for an unknown period of time, the little monkeys stopped. Lin Xian's figure flashed and appeared behind them. In front of them was a small cave surrounded by vines. If one did not look carefully, they would not have noticed it. GG. GG. The little monkeys pointed at the cave and shouted, as if inviting Lin Xian in as a guest. Lin Xian had sword intent on him and Wine Lord secretly guiding him, so he was not afraid at all. He did not hesitate and walked in directly. It was very dry inside and not dark at all. There was light shining from unknown places. Lin Xian secretly used his footwork and did not make any sound. After walking for a while, it was a rather spacious space. There were stone tables and stone stools in the surroundings and a stone bed in the corner. It was obvious that someone had lived here before. Lin Xian did not move, but activated his purple spirit eyes and soul power to secretly investigate the entire space. In the end, he did not find anything special. Instead, there were some white bones and broken things in the corners. However, no normal person would pay attention to these things. Gigi! Gigi! Unexpectedly, the little monkeys ran to the pile of white bones and shouted non-stop. One of the monkeys even pulled out a rusty gauntlet from the pile of broken things. The little white monkey wobbled to Lin Xian and handed the rusty gauntlet to him. Lin Xian smiled and took it. Holding it in his hand, Lin Xian's expression changed slightly. Heavy, very heavy. This thing was heavier than he imagined. He needed to circulate his spiritual power to hold it firmly. Lin Xian's expression was solemn as he carefully looked at the gauntlet in his hand. This gauntlet not only covered his forearm, but also his palm. On the palm there were faint strange runes. Chapter 117. Wine Lord looked at the gauntlet in front of him and let out a soft sound of surprise. Little Xian, this is good stuff. Wine Lord said with a smile. This? Lin Xian looked at it carefully and said, I think I've seen the runes on it before. Oh right, the armor and talisman paper that Elder Duanmu gave me have similar runes on them. Lin Xian touched the armor on his body and took out the yellow talisman paper, silently comparing it. This is the rune I told you about. Wine Lord said slowly. Although most of its spirituality has been lost over time, the remaining power is not something that ordinary people can resist. Looks like it can be used a few more times. Lin Xian's eyes lit up. He had wanted to see the power of the rune for a long time. He couldn't wait to put it on and test it out. Don't use it here. Try it when we get out. Wine Lord stopped Lin Xian. Lin Xian put away the bronze gauntlet and walked to the pile of white bones in the corner. There were some bronze fragments on the ground, but the runes on them were either cracked or destroyed. None of them were intact. Let's go. These are all useless. Wine Lord sighed. Lin Xian stood up and waved to the group of white monkeys. Thank you. I'm leaving. Gigi. Gigi. The little monkeys jumped up and down to block Lin Xian. One of them ran away like last time. There's more? Lin Xian was puzzled and stopped walking. This time, the little monkey carried an egg and walked over shakily. The egg was greenish-white and about a foot tall. It didn't look strange on the surface. For me? Lin Xian asked. Gigi. Gigi. The little monkeys nodded, afraid that Lin Xian wouldn't want it. Lin Xian carefully took it and put it into his storage ring. The few little monkeys at the side patted their chests in a human-like manner, their faces full of lingering fear. Lin Xian checked the area once more, but he didn't find anything else. He waved his hand and left. The group of little monkeys were also chirping non-stop. Their eyes revealed a crafty light as if they were very excited. After leaving the monkey cave, Lin Xian arrived at a secluded area. He couldn't wait to take out the bronze gauntlets and put them on. Circulate your spiritual energy and activate the inscription on your palm. Wine Lord instructed from the side. Lin Xian nodded. He raised his left hand and aimed it at the mountain in front of him, silently channeling his spiritual energy. Blue spiritual energy rushed towards the rune in the center, and in the next moment, a violent energy fluctuation spread out from his left hand. Boom! A green energy beam shot out, forming a dazzling light. It roared out, enveloping everything in front of it. Strong winds blew in all directions, and gravel flew everywhere. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Lin Xian let out a muffled groan and took a few steps back. His left arm trembled slightly, accompanied by a piercing pain. When everything calmed down, Lin Xian looked up. The area in front of him had become barren, and nothing existed. Even the mountain had been pierced through. A pitch-black hole appeared in front of him, and there were wisps of white smoke at the edge. Hiss! Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. This attack was far beyond his imagination. Its power had probably surpassed that of a martial artist at the first sky of the spiritual sea realm. However, the side effects were also very obvious. Lin Xian's arm still ached faintly. Next time, use spiritual energy to protect your arm. It should be able to avoid this pain. Lin Xian rubbed his arm, realizing that he had been careless this time. Your Boda's strength has surpassed that of a martial artist at the pulse condensation realm. It's comparable to a martial artist at the spiritual sea realm, Wine Lord said. A normal martial artist at the pulse condensation realm would probably have their entire arm crippled after using this attack. It's a great weapon. Lin Xian realized that he no longer had to fear a martial artist at the spiritual sea realm. Lin Xian didn't plan to stay in the periphery any longer. After all, the resources here were limited. Tomorrow morning, Well set off for the Blood Forest. The Blood Forest was different from the forests in the periphery. The trees here were very tall, with luxuriant foliage that covered the sky. Moreover, there were hidden dangers everywhere in this forest. If one wasn't careful, they would lose their lives here. In one of the places, there was a giant golden python guarding a heart-shaped flower. A young martial artist held a long spear and was fighting with the giant golden python. This young man was Black Sky Sex Shangguan Lu Yun. He faced the giant golden python alone without fear. Spear like a dragon. The young man's face was cold, and his eyes were like lightning. The long spear in his hand trembled and suddenly pierced out. The 3 zhang long spear light flickered, stirring up the wind and clouds. It was like a dragon emerging from the sea, extremely ferocious. The giant golden python's body was huge, but it was very nimble. With a twist of its body, it dodged the attack. At the same time, it opened its mouth and its scarlet tongue flew out like a poisonous arrow. Puff, puff, puff. Shangguan Lu Yun leaped and flew 4 to 5 zhang away. A bowl-sized hole appeared where he was originally standing. Traces of green liquid adhered to it and kept corroding it. Soon, the hole became the size of a water jar and was still expanding. What a fierce poison! Shangguan Lu Yun's pupils constricted. I can only use that move. Spear like a mountain. With a thrust of the spear, the void was somewhat distorted. It was as if a mountain was pressing down from the sky, causing the void to tremble. The giant golden python's tail quickly twitched and whipped the giant mountain, producing a rumbling sound. However, there was no effect. Bang! A shocking sound rang out and the earth trembled. The giant golden python's head was shattered and it flew out. Who? Shangguan Lu Yun kept gasping for breath, but his eyes flashed with excitement. Pa! Pa! A crisp applause rang out, followed by a burst of laughter. Wonderful, truly wonderful. I didn't expect a mere pulse condensation realm martial artist to be able to stab out such a stunning spear. When Shangguan Lu Yun heard this voice, his body trembled. He actually did not know when this person came nearby, which made him feel very uneasy. He turned his head and saw a person walking out of the forest. He was wearing a long robe and had an ordinary appearance, but his eyes were very sharp. All right, you can scram now. The ordinary youth sneered. His gaze swept across Shangguan Lu Yun and directly looked at the heart-shaped red flower. Shangguan Lu Yun frowned. It was not easy for him to kill the giant golden python. It was all for this heart-shaped flower. How could he give up? Thinking of this, the spirit energy on his body burst forth and the long spear in his hand was ready to attack. Humph! You overestimate yourself. The ordinary youth snorted. His eyes focused and the aura on his body surged out like a vast ocean, sweeping in all directions. Spirit Sea Realm. Shangguan Lu Yun's face suddenly became very ugly. Why aren't you scramming? The youth waved his sleeve and a gust of wind formed into a sharp wind blade in the air, attacking Shangguan Lu Yun. Bang! Bang! The wind blade was too fast and Shangguan Lu Yun had no time to dodge. He slashed out with his spear and collided with the wind blade. Puff! The power of the Spirit Sea Realm was far from what a pulse condensation realm martial artist could resist. Shangguan Lu Yun's body kept retreating as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He stared at the youth in front of him, preparing to launch his strongest attack and perish together with him. As if sensing his intentions, the youth smiled disdainfully. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. After saying that, a dazzling light appeared on his palm and a terrifying power lingered around him. Seeing that Shangguan Lu Yun was about to lose his life under the palm of light, another figure flew out from the dense forest. A sharp sword chi slashed towards the youth, making a rapid sound in the air. Chapter 118. A figure landed on the ground. interrupting the youth's attack. "Stinking brat, it's you." The youth's face turned ugly, and his channeling spirit power also slightly stagnated. On the other side, Shangguanlun also saw the appearance of the newcomer and exclaimed, "Lin Xian." The newcomer was indeed Lin Xian. He slowly walked in front of Shangguanlun, took out a pill and handed it over. "As a Sea of Soul Realm martial artist, you only know how to hide in the dark. If I were you, I would have killed myself already." Lin Xian sneered. Shangguanlun was a bit worried. Lin Xian angered the opponent like this, which would only make their situation more dangerous. "Brat, I spared your life last time. This time you can go down and meet the King of Hell." The youth was abnormally angry, especially when he thought about how he was actually scared away by Lin Xian last time. He felt like he was going crazy. "2 ants, I can easily crush them to death." The youth's spirit power surged, and his palms emitted light. "Lin Xian, if you and I attack together, we might have a chance of victory." Shangguanlun's expression was abnormally grave. "Later we'll use our strongest move. If it doesn't work, we'll escape." Lin Xian's mouth raised into a smile. He patted Shangguanlun's shoulder and said softly, "No need to be so troublesome. Watch me." Finished speaking, he walked up alone. "Scum like you, who knows how many weak people you'll bully while you're alive? It's better for you to die." Lin Xian didn't have any good impression of this kind of person. Crazy Lin Xian must be crazy. Shangguanlun's head was a bit dizzy. The opponent was a Sea of Soul Realm martial artist, and Lin Xian actually berated him like this. Sure enough, the youth's expression was malevolent. He quickly pushed out a huge palm of light, sweeping in all directions. "Die for me." The silver palm of light was like a huge mountain rampaging. The heavy aura made people suffocate. Humph! Lin Xian quickly took out the bronze gauntlet and used spirit power to activate it. This time, not only did he activate a large amount of spirit power, but he also protected his entire left arm to prevent backlash. In the next moment, an even more terrifying aura gushed out from Lin Xian's left hand. Wang! The void trembled as the green light from his left hand soared into the sky. It continued to expand as if it was a sun. Shangguanlun's face was pale. In the face of such power, he could only retreat continuously. His eyes were fixed on Lin Xian. Opposite him, the young man turned pale with fright. His eyes were filled with disbelief. This power? Impossible. Facing Lin Xian, he once again had the thought of running away, but before he could do anything, that boundless power had already surged towards him. The green pillar of light, surrounded by a tornado of lightning, flashed past. Rumble! The silver palm of light was instantly shattered, turning into specks of light that scattered in the air. The green beam of light did not slow down at all after shattering the light palm. It continued to strike the young man's body. Ah! The sound of explosions rang out continuously, mixed with mournful cries. Half of the forest was enveloped in a dazzling green light. When everything calmed down, Shangguanlun looked over in horror. It was a mess in front of him. Wherever the beam of light passed, the grass would be destroyed. The young man's body had long turned into dust and was blown away by the wind. Shangguanlun was in a daze as his body kept trembling. What was that? Finally, he asked the question. I obtained a treasure in the cave. It's considered a life-saving measure. Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders. He did not hide it because he still had another trump card. Hearing that it was an external force, Shangguanlun's expression eased up. He walked to the right rear and plucked the heart-shaped flower. I owe you a life. I will return it to you in the future. Shangguanlun said gratefully. Let's go. Lin Xian smiled. He did not want any favors when he helped, but he did not explain anything. The two of them walked side by side into the depths of the blood forest. During this time, most of the disciples had left the periphery and headed into the depths of the blood forest. The top few disciples had successfully broken through the blood forest and were about to enter the blood palace. In the center of the trial of blood and fire, there was a majestic palace that floated in the air. Looking from afar, the blood palace was incomparably huge, like a small mountain. Below it, Murong Qianling, Zhangjun, Wan Jianqing, Xia Changfeng, Yuan Fei and the others were sitting cross-legged and resting, preparing to enter. It seems that the blood palace is not open yet. We can't keep waiting like this, Xie Changfeng said with a frown. Why don't we join forces to break the formation and directly kill our way in? Zhang Jun's expression was cold as he looked at the palace in the air with a trace of passion in his eyes. Let's wait. At least wait until all the direct disciples of the three major sects have arrived. Murong Qianling's voice was cold. I wonder why the people of the Wuxia sect haven't arrived yet? Several people were discussing in low voices with different expressions. The Wuxia sect disciples they were talking about were fighting with all their might. In the pitch-black cave, countless black bats covered the sky and rushed over. The Wuxia sect disciples fought back with all their might. Among them, Wuxia Fairy's long belt danced in the wind, overflowing with multicolored light. All the bats that approached her screamed and fell. In another direction, the ordinary-looking young girl's body was hazy and covered by a layer of light. She held a beautiful flower in her hand, and with a gentle shake of her hand, thousands of petals floated down, transforming into deadly weapons that constantly reaped the lives of the bat monsters. Soon the surroundings became quiet. The ground was covered with bat corpses. The group didn't stop and immediately set off deeper into the cave. Not long after they left, a few young men with black aura and red eyes walked into the bat cave. When they saw the ground full of corpses, they laughed strangely. It seems that someone has already entered the bat cave. I wonder if they have the same goal as us. Who cares if they have the same goal? We'll just find them and kill them. No one can stop us. One of the black fog people said in a deep voice. Let's quickly refine these bat corpses. They're a great supplement for us. The black fog on their bodies rolled and shrouded the corpses on the ground. They began to refine them. Lin Xian and Shangguan Liyun shuttled back and forth in the Lin Xian cave. As they went deeper, the surrounding environment was constantly changing. Unknowingly, there was a fog around them. It was white and they couldn't see the scene in the distance. Lin Xian used his purple spirit eyes. His eyes emitted an orange light. Instantly, his gaze pierced through the white fog and looked into the distance. How is it? Shangguan Liyun asked. Not good. Although I can see further than now, it's still a big limitation. I can only guarantee that I won't go the wrong way. Lin Xian frowned and said. Then let's go quickly. This blood-red forest is too strange. Shangguan Liyun had a lingering fear. If it wasn't for Lin Xian, he might have been in an even worse state. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the two stopped. Lin Xian's face didn't look good. He used his purple spirit eyes. At the same time, he secretly used his soul force to check the surroundings. What's the situation? Shangguan Liyun could only rely on Lin Xian now. Chapter 119. Lin Xian was a little angry. He had just said that he wouldn't go the wrong way, but he ended up back at the same place. He used his purple spirit eyes with all his might and looked around carefully. His little face was very serious. This is an illusion array. One way is to use a more advanced method to break it, or directly use tyrannical power to shatter everything. Wine Lord's voice sounded from the bottom of his heart. Unless you enter the spiritual ocean realm, you won't be able to break it now. Lin Xian understood. Then he chuckled and sent a voice transmission. Don't we still have you, Lord Alcohol? Humph. It's a piece of cake for me. Wine Lord snorted, then said. Walk 8 steps to the right. Lin Xian expressed that he understood, then said to Shangguan Liyun. I saw it clearly, follow me closely. Then he followed Wine Lord's instructions and walked 8 steps. Shangguan Liyun was puzzled, but still followed Lin Xian's movements. Then walk 5 steps straight. Wine Lord continued to guide. Lin Xian led Shangguan Liyun and walked and stopped, sometimes using some strange footwork. After walking for about 50 steps, the two felt that the white fog had thinned a lot. Phew! They finally walked out. Lin Xian let out a sigh of relief. Behind him, Shangguan Liyun looked at Lin Xian in surprise. To be honest, he was a little confused during the whole process and didn't know what he was doing. If it wasn't for Lin Xian, he probably wouldn't have been able to walk out in his lifetime. Just as the two of them let out a sigh of relief, they heard the sound of fighting ahead. Looking at each other, Lin Xian and Shangguan Liyun decided to walk over and take a look. Secretly circulating their spirit power, they prepared to deal with any sudden changes. Lin Xian and Shangguan Liyun carefully walked over. In front, the white fog was obviously thicker than other places. Lin Xian used his purple spirit eyes to observe and found that there were many disciples inside. They were all under the illusion and were waving their weapons in the air, looking very funny. Some of the more serious ones were even attacking each other, and it looked like they were about to die. Lin Xian was not a saint, and his strength was limited. In this dangerous place he did not have much energy to take care of others. Therefore he did not want to care about these things. However, he saw Hu Man in the illusory array. This girl who had carried out a mission with him was also suffering from the effects of the illusion. When a friend was in trouble, Lin Xian would naturally lend a helping hand. Lin Xian explained the situation to Shangguan Luyun. Shangguan Luyun did not object. The two of them quickly rushed into the white fog. Stop! The moment Lin Xian entered, he rushed to Hu Man's side and quickly stopped her. Then he began to circulate his spiritual energy, and combined it with his soul power. He suddenly shouted. It was like a sudden clap of thunder, exploding in everyone's ears. The disciples who were caught in the illusion trembled and woke up. What happened? The disciples were confused. I'm hurt, damn it, what's going on? Junior brother Lin, it's you. Hu Man's eyes were also filled with confusion. When she saw Lin Xian, she exclaimed, Are you okay? Lin Xian asked. Hu Man shook her head. What happened? You guys were caught in the illusion, don't you know? Shangguan Luyun was puzzled. Illusion? After everyone heard, their minds trembled. Thinking about what happened before, they immediately broke out in cold sweat, and their hearts were filled with fear. Hu Man looked at Lin Xian gratefully. Fortunately, you arrived. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. What do we do now? Are we going to be trapped here to death? A group of disciples panicked. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Follow me, I can bring you guys out. You? Most people did not believe it. Among them, there was even a Spirit Sea Realm martial artist with a sneer on his face. Lin Xian did not care about the others. Instead, he said to Hu Man and Shangguan Luyun, Follow my footsteps, don't go the wrong way. Soon after, he contacted Wine Lord and began to break the illusion array. The other disciples looked at Lin Xian doubtfully. In the end, they gritted their teeth and followed. The whole process was somewhat slow. Lin Xian walked and stopped, and from time to time he would confirm something. Suddenly, the surrounding trees swayed. Gray branches constantly twisted and pierced into a disciple's body. Ah! A blood-curdling scream rang out. The disciple's flesh instantly caved in, turning into a dried corpse. Lin Xian's pupils also shrank. He did not expect such a change. Immediately, he used his soul power to envelop the three of them just in case. Why is it like this? Didn't you say you could bring us out? Someone roared at Lin Xian. Shangguan Luyun and Hu Man frowned. Lin Xian sneered and looked at that disciple coldly. Don't be stupid. Perhaps this is his trap. He purposely lured us here and then killed us. That Sea of Soul Realm martial artist sneered in the crowd. Damn, it's the Ling family. Hu Man's expression changed. The person who objected had the highest cultivation, and would probably make the situation even more chaotic. Indeed, after the Ling family Sea of Soul Realm disciple finished speaking, the remaining people's expressions were uncertain. They did not know who to believe. Lin Xian looked at them and said expressionlessly, The legs are on your bodies. I never forced you. If you don't want to follow me, you can leave at any time. Humph, you lured us here before saying such words. Indeed, you don't have good intentions. The Ling family Sea of Soul Realm martial artist retorted. Lin Xian's expression darkened. The grudge between him and the Ling family could not be resolved. He was very clear about this. Shaking his head, Lin Xian called Hu Man and Shangguan Luyun and prepared to leave. Brat, you brought us here and now you want to leave? I'm afraid it's not that simple. Ling family disciple Ling Kuan sneered. His body flashed as he attacked fiercely. Spread out! Lin Xian yelled. The attack of a Sea of Soul Realm martial artist was not something that Hu Man and the others could handle. Lin Xian moved his body, not wanting to affect his companions. He used the Phantom Thunder Steps, leaving behind a series of afterimages, making it hard for people to distinguish between the real and the fake. Petty tricks, destroy them all. The blue spirit power in Ling Kun's hand turned into a long whip. Like a strange poisonous snake, it kept twisting and moving forward, shattering all the afterimages in the sky. Reaching the Sea of Soul realm, the spirit power transformation was an important symbol. It meant that the martial artist was more proficient in using spirit power. After destroying all of Lin Xian's afterimages, Ling Kuan laughed complacently. "Brat, today will be the day you die." Lin Xian was the archenemy of the Ling family. Moreover, he had comprehended the sword intent, so his future was limitless. If he could kill Lin Xian, it would definitely be a great achievement. Perhaps the family would nurture him well. Thinking of this, the spirit power in Ling Kun's body increased again. On the side, Hu Man was shocked. Although she knew that Lin Xian was strong, comparable to a half-step Sea of Soul realm martial artist, he was still a Sea of Soul realm martial artist. His opponent was a genuine first sky of Sea of Soul realm martial artist, whose strength was incomparably strong. "Don't worry, he'll be fine," Shangguan Luyun said in a low voice. Then, he thought of the terrifying Cyan light pillar. That kind of power still made him feel a lingering fear. Lin Xian also knew that if he used the Cyan gauntlet, he could easily kill Ling Kuan. However, that was his life-saving method and he didn't want to use it casually. Moreover, after entering the 9th level of Meridian's condensation, he hadn't had a good battle. Chapter 120. Lin Xian's body surged with sword intent, and a cyan-colored sword chi slashed towards Ling Kuan. "Arrogant. Today, I'll let you know the power of the Sea of Spirit realm." The whip in Ling Kun's hand danced like a giant python. "Ha! Ha!" The materialized sword chi struck the spirit whip and directly shattered it. The shocking sword will tore it apart. This scene shocked the surrounding disciples. This was the first time they saw a pulse condensation stage martial artist fighting against a Sea of Spirit realm martial artist. "Explode!" Ling Kun's face kept changing and he finally shouted. "Pung!" The broken spirit whip suddenly exploded, and the violent energy enveloped Lin Xian. Severing Origin Protective Sword. The Severing Origin Protective Sword Chi had already been cultivated to the 2nd level. The red sword chi covered his body, and the ancient armor he wore also emitted waves of fluctuations, forming a tight defense. At the same time, Lin Xian kept retreating, leaving a golden afterimage in the air. "Run!" The expressions of the surrounding disciples changed drastically. This explosion was already a serious threat to their lives. More than a dozen figures fled outside one after another. Rumble! The spirit chi exploded, spreading out in all directions like waves. Lin Xian had already pushed to the edge of the shockwave, but the aftermath still caused his chi and blood to churn. Whirlwind clouds. Lin Xian waved his long sword, creating 3 hurricanes that blew away the dust. There was no one in front of him. Lin Xian frowned and spread out his soul power to investigate the situation. Suddenly, his face turned to one side, and his body quickly scattered to the side. With a pong, a trench spread out, cutting the ground in half. "Die, you ant!" Ling Kun's body appeared beside Lin Xian. His arms formed a blade of spirit chi, and he suddenly slashed down. Lin Xian's face was expressionless. Orange light flickered in his eyes. Under the effect of the purple spirit pupil, he found the flaw in Ling Kun's move. He stabbed out and the long sword touched the blade chi. As if hitting the weak point of a snake, the dark blue blade chi quickly dimmed, and its power decreased greatly. Whoosh! Lin Xian used the phantom thundersteps, leaving behind 3 golden afterimages beside Ling Kuan, while his real body retreated 15 meters away. "How did he know my weakness?" Ling Kun's eyelids twitched. This was the first time he had used this move in front of others. Moreover, those who had not practiced this move would not be able to discover its flaws. It must be a wild guess. Ling Kuan comforted himself. "Explode!" While Ling Kuan was guessing, Lin Xian launched an attack from afar. 3 golden phantoms surrounded Ling Kuan in a triangular formation before exploding. Golden arcs of lightning danced and crackled in the air. It was as if a sea of lightning had formed, and the surroundings were scorched black. "Ah! I'll kill you!" A furious voice came out from the sea of lightning. Ling Kuan was incomparably furious. Just a moment ago, he had used an explosion to launch a surprise attack on Lin Xian, but he didn't expect that it would return to him so quickly. Hu Man and Shangguan Luyun looked at this scene in shock. Their eyes were filled with shock. "I didn't think that junior apprentice brother Lin could really fight against a spiritual ocean tier martial artist. This is too abnormal. Hu Man's voice trembled. Shangguan Liyun was even more shocked. He originally thought that Lin Xian dared to challenge him because of the strange gauntlet. Now it seemed that with his own strength, he was no longer afraid of a spiritual ocean tier martial artist. The gap between us is getting bigger and bigger. Shangguan Liyun's mouth was bitter. Lin Xian's expression was grave. This Ling Kuan was stronger than that normal youth by 30%. It seemed that the gap between spiritual ocean tier martial artists was even bigger. The 7 layers of spiritual ocean tier. Each tier is divided into early, middle, and late stages. The person who died earlier was at the early stage of the first layer of spiritual ocean tier, and this guy in front of us is at the middle stage of the first layer. Wine Lord said indifferently. No wonder. Lin Xian suddenly understood. It's really hard to do without the gauntlet. He didn't want to delay any longer. After all, the surroundings were too dangerous, and they were still in the illusion array. You can use the illusion array. Wine Lord reminded. Use the illusion array? Lin Xian's eyes lit up. His advantage was that he could see through the illusion array. If he used it, the effect would be even better. Lure him to the tree demon behind us. Wine Lord quickly said. Lin Xian's figure retreated, running towards the back. You can't run away. I'm going to tear you apart. Ling Kun's face was hideous. His body and face were all charred black, and he was in an extremely sorry state. Mountain suppressing hand. Ling Kuan jumped up and quickly approached Lin Xian. He waved his hand and blue spirit power gushed out, forming a small mountain. The mountain spun and pressed down mercilessly. Break! Lin Xian's sword intent surged. Sword light shone, and the sharp sword chi split the small blue mountain in half. Suppress! Ling Kun's eyes were crazed. The two halves of the huge blue mountain continued to merge, and suddenly pressed down. Now is the time. Hurry up and attack. You must injure him. Wine Lord shouted in a low voice. Outer sky meteor. Lin Xian's sword was as fast as lightning, and it was extremely sharp. The sword light flashed, and one of Ling Kun's arms was cut off. Ah! Ling Kun crazily screamed. The spirit power on his body turned into sword light, and flew in all directions, destroying everything around him. Now is the time. Hurry up and retreat. Wine Lord reminded. Lin Xian pushed his speed to the limit and quickly rushed out. In a few flashes, he arrived beside Hu Man and Shangguan Liyun. Hu! 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 In the distance, a few gray tree branches stretched out, piercing towards Ling Kuan. The protective shield was shattered, and the gray tree branches pierced into his body, continuously absorbing his essence blood. Soon Ling Kuan turned into a dried corpse. Hurry up and leave. Lin Xian's scalp went numb. He brought Hu Man and Shangguan Liyun and quickly ran into the distance. After an hour, the 3 of them finally walked out of the white fog. We're saved. Hu Man's legs went soft and she sat on the ground. She kept panting and her chest kept rising and falling. Lin Xian and Shangguan Liyun's breaths were also chaotic. The 3 of them found a safe place and began to rest. In another direction, below the blood-colored palace, more and more people arrived. Apart from the disciples of Wuxia sect, all the other spiritual ocean realm martial artists had arrived. Everyone gathered together to rest, preparing to attack the formation. Ling family. Ling Feng looked at the surrounding disciples and frowned. Why hasn't Ling Kuan come yet? Beside him, Ling Xiao said in a low voice. Ling Kun's cultivation is not bad, but his willpower is a bit weak. There are many illusory formations in the blood-colored forest. I'm afraid it will take a lot of time. Don't worry about him. We'll take action first. Ling Feng said in a deep voice. He was the leader of the Ling family this time. His cultivation had reached the second sky of spiritual ocean realm, and he could almost compete with the direct disciples of the 3 major sections. Beside him sat 4 people, who were also in the spiritual ocean realm. They were all the elites of the Ling family. Ling Xiao's gaze turned, and he silently glanced at the Black Sky sect. He then said in a low voice, that Lin Xian isn't here. It will be troublesome to find him. Don't worry about him. Ling Feng said in a low voice. Our goal is the inheritance inside the blood-colored palace. He's just a brat in the pulse-condensing realm. It'll be good enough if he can come here alive. Also, not only will we deal with him, even Black Sky Sex Zheng Jun will kill him. He definitely won't leave here alive. Zheng Jun. The rest of the Ling family disciples took a deep breath. Zheng Jun was a peak existence among the direct disciples, and he was even stronger than Ling Feng. If he wanted to make a move, Lin Xian definitely wouldn't be able to survive. Just as the few of them were whispering, the nearby disciples of the three major sects stood up. Chapter 121. Above the sky, the blood-colored palace was like a wild beast, occupying the air and covering half of the sky. Taking 2 steps forward, one could feel the desolate aura and enormous pressure coming from above. Everyone. This blood-colored palace has a total of 4 entrances. Why don't we each choose one? This way we can avoid missing treasures. The one who spoke was Zheng Jun. His voice was clear and penetrating, and everyone nearby could hear it clearly. Alright, let's each find our own fortune. In the Lotus sect, Xie Changfeng, Yuan Fei, and the others stood up and ran towards the northern entrance. Accompanying them was another aristocratic family. Brother Zheng, why don't we join hands? Ling Feng smiled. That's exactly what I was thinking. Zheng Jun smiled. Afterwards, the 2 sides met up and walked to the nearest entrance, preparing to attack. The remaining people walked to the southern entrance and started to break the formation. As for the last western entrance, no one touched it. Everyone present knew that it was a death entrance. Very few of the disciples who entered before came back alive, not to mention searching for treasures. At the northern entrance, Xie Changfeng slashed out with his long saber. A huge saber ray cut through the air and slashed on the seal, causing ripples. On the side, Yuan Fei crouched down, twisted his waist and punched out. Like a huge dragon, it broke through the air and fiercely slammed on the seal, causing a rumbling sound. Xie Changfeng glanced at Yuan Fei with some surprise. This youngster who was a few years younger than him attacked fiercely, almost catching up to him. Looks like I must get the martial arts inheritance this time, or else my position will be in danger. Xie Changfeng sighed inwardly. He was already 22, and his cultivation was stuck at the second layer of the spiritual ocean tier for more than half a year. Yuan Fei was only 18 years old, and his cultivation was at the late stage of the first layer of the spiritual ocean tier. It could be said that his future was limitless. Thinking of this, the long saber in his hand trembled, and a dazzling light turned into an arc in the air, wanting to tear the seal apart. In the other direction, Zheng Jun extended his palm. The spiritual power on his body turned into a huge yellow hand the size of a millstone. With a gust of wind, it slapped on the seal. The seal in front appeared, causing layers of ripples that spread out in all directions as if it would break at any time. But it didn't break. Mu Rong Qianling waved her long sword like a tornado, and countless sword chi and wind blades slashed towards the seal. Wan Jianqing also stabbed out with his sword, which seemed to transform into a sky full of stars, mercilessly smashing into the ground. The Black Heaven sect is indeed a large sect. Their combat power is indeed amazing. Ling Feng sighed. He crossed his arms, and the spiritual energy on his body condensed into a mountain. A terrifying force spread out. Behind the mountain, the shadow of a mountain gradually appeared, causing the void to tremble. Mountain suppressing hand. Ling Feng shouted and the 2 mountains fell. They were as heavy as 10,000 kilograms, causing the seal to tremble. Good move, Brother Ling. Zheng Jun laughed loudly. The Ling clan's ultimate technique, mountain suppressing hand, has become much more powerful in your hands. As the 2 of them chatted, the attacks in their hands did not land. Instead, they continued to attack the seal. Just as everyone was busy breaking the seal, many more figures rushed over from afar. Luckily, I didn't miss it. Seeing that the seal was still breaking, Hu Man let out a sigh of relief. Junior Brother Lin, thank you so much for this time. See you in the blood sky. Hu Man was a disciple of the Lotus sect, so she naturally couldn't enter with Lin Xian. She waved her hand and ran towards the direction of the Lotus Glory sect. Let's go too, Lin Xian said to Shangguan Luyun. The 2 of them ran towards the east entrance. Whoosh! Whoosh! The arrival of Lin Xian and Shangguan Luyun attracted everyone's attention. Murong Qianling smiled and nodded, while the Ling clan disciples sneered. Killing intent flashed past Ling Feng and Zheng Jun's eyes. Although it was very hidden, how could it escape from Lin Xian's purple spirit eyes? He sneered in his heart, but his face was expressionless. At this moment, the seal of the north entrance was broken, and the people of the Lotus Glory sect quickly entered. Bang! A crack appeared on the seal on Lin Xian's side. It was as tall as a person, and it seemed like it would close at any time. You guys go in first, Ling Feng said very generously. Zhang Ju nodded, and then led the Black Heaven sect disciples in quickly. Lin Xian's heart sank. He realized that the Ling clan's eyes were all on him, especially Ling Feng, who had a trace of aura locked onto him. Sighing in his heart, Lin Xian felt that the trip to the blood-colored heavenly palace would not be too peaceful. He used the phantom thunder step, and his body turned into an afterimage as he prepared to enter. Boom! A sharp hidden force surged over, as if it was going to tear him apart. The front was blocked by the attack, and Lin Xian could only retreat. Whoosh! He retreated rapidly and dodged the silent attack. In front, the Black Heaven sect disciples had all entered, and no one noticed the abnormality behind them. Ling Feng looked at Lin Xian and sneered. You want to enter? Ridiculous. The rest of the Ling clan laughed and looked at Lin Xian with disdain. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He did not expect the Ling clan to be so bold as to stop him from entering. He took a deep breath and looked at Ling Feng coldly. Sword intent surged from his body, as if a divine sword was unsheathed, sharp and unstoppable. Feeling this pressure, the Ling clan disciples were slightly shocked, and their expressions were somewhat unnatural. Ling Feng's body was surrounded by light, and his eyes were extremely sharp. Don't enter the blood-colored heavenly palace. When we come out, it will be the time of your death. Ling Feng waved his hand and let all the Ling clan disciples enter. Then, he stopped the transmission of spiritual power, and the whole seal was quickly sealed. Swoosh! The entrance gradually became smaller. Everyone had entered, and only Lin Xian remained outside. Lin Xian did not make a move. Facing so many spiritual Sea Realm disciples, he had no confidence. However, it was impossible for him to sit and wait for death. When I enter, I will cut you all down with my sword. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with coldness. Not long after, the remaining disciples arrived one after another. When they learned that the top disciples had entered, they cried to the sky. Damn it, I was so close to entering early. Someone was angry. Some did not believe it and gathered people to attack the seal. However, the highest cultivation among these people was only at the early stage of the first sky of spiritual Sea Realm, and there were very few of them. They could not break the seal at all. Is there no other way to enter? Some disciples were not convinced. There is. I estimate that after 10 days, the seal of the blood-colored heavenly palace will weaken. At that time we will all be able to enter. 10 days. Everyone inside has already entered. What will be left after 10 days? Not necessarily. This blood-colored trial ground has a few hundred years of history. Even now there are still countless treasures. So what if we are late for 10 days? Lin Xian stood in the crowd and listened quietly, not saying a word. Actually, besides these, there is another way. Someone whispered. That is the western entrance. Western entrance. Many disciples' faces changed and they shrank back in fear. I will wait for 10 days. Anyway, this little bit of time is not important. Many people decided to come back after 10 days. There were also some who were meditating, unwilling to leave. Western entrance? What is that place? Lin Xian was puzzled and asked. The information he received did not explain the entrance in detail. Someone glanced at him and then explained. The blood-colored heavenly palace is divided into 4 entrances. East, West, North and South. The other 3 entrances are sealed by powerful seals, and can only be entered at a specific time. The western entrance is an exception. There is no seal there, so you can enter and exit as you wish. However, no one has ever dared to go there. Why? Lin Xian did not understand. Because no one has ever come out from where they entered. In the past 100 years, no one has taken that path. Chapter 122. Lin Xian was very curious about the mysterious western entrance. Let's go and take a look. We can't wait here for 10 days. He was unwilling to give up and decided to give it a try. Hey, where are you going? Are you really going to the western entrance? A disciple shouted. Lin Xian waved his hand without turning his head and said goodbye to the group of people. Damn, he's really going there. He's crazy. He's courting death. No one can come out alive. Humph. Maybe he's just pretending. If he really goes there, he'll be so scared that his legs will go soft. Many disciples sneered, ready to see Lin Xian make a fool of himself. Lin Xian didn't care about what the others thought. He went to the western entrance and observed it with Wine Lord. There was a square entrance in front of them. There was no ceiling power around it. Lin Xian activated his purple spirit eyes and found that it was pitch black inside. He couldn't see through it at all. This place isn't as simple as it looks. It's maintained by a formation, Wine Lord said in a deep voice. This should be a trial. A trial? Lin Xian was puzzled. If that's the case, why did so many people disappear? This is indeed a trial. The consequence of failure is death. Wine Lord's voice was grave. Whether you want to enter or not is up to you. Lin Xian didn't hesitate. His eyes were very determined. Let me see how difficult this trial is. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian walked into the western entrance. Whoosh. Whoosh. Bloody forest, bat cave. In the huge cave, the Bat King's corpse was split in half and fell to the ground. Fresh blood and internal organs were scattered all over the ground. A pungent smell filled the air. The Wuxia sect disciples searched the cave and didn't miss a single spot. However, they didn't find anything useful. Wuxia Fairy and the others looked at the beautiful figure in front of them in awe and waited patiently. There's nothing here. Could it be that my deduction was wrong? The beautiful figure whispered. Her limpid eyes scanned the area again. Finally, she sighed softly. How many more forbidden areas like this are there? The mysterious woman asked. There's also a mysterious valley. No one has ever entered it, Wuxia Fairy said respectfully. It's said that there's also a mysterious place inside the bloody heavenly palace. I can use the deduction technique again. The mysterious woman took out a tortoiseshell and continuously released her spiritual energy. After a moment, a bloody red shadow of the tortoiseshell. It was hovering in the air. This should be the blood heavenly palace. The mysterious woman put away the turtle shell and said calmly, Let's go to the blood heavenly palace. The expressions of the Wuxia sect disciples revealed a hint of excitement. They impatiently turned around and prepared to leave. Hee, you want to leave? I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Several black figures blocked the way, black fog rolling around their bodies. Who are you? Quickly get out of the way. Fairy Wuxia shouted. 2. Soon that person opened his eyes and said coldly, I didn't find what I was looking for. The leading black-robed person looked at the Wuxia sect's disciples and said, Hand over what you found. Otherwise you'll die without an intact corpse. You're also looking for something? The mysterious woman frowned. Did the information leak? It seems you already know. The black-robed leader's voice was hoarse. Hand it over and I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Then, the black mist on his body surged and condensed into a ferocious demonic beast above his head. Netherworld death chi? The mysterious woman was stunned. Soon after she sneered. I didn't expect you to come back from the ashes. I wonder how many of you are still alive? The mysterious woman's words startled the 5 black-robed people. The Wuxia sect's disciples were bewildered. Kill them all and bring them back. The black-robed leader's voice was cruel. Suddenly, the black mist filled the air and covered the whole cave. Flickering light passing shadow. The mysterious woman's figure danced. A translucent light rushed out and dispersed the black mist. She's not from the state of Great Xia. Form a formation to deal with her. The black-robed leader was alarmed and shouted hastily. 5 streams of black mist flew out from the black-robed people and intertwined in the air, forming a 5-pointed formation that surrounded the group. 5th Netherworld formation open. The black mist surged and transformed into a huge beast claw. Endless murderous aura filled the air and filled the whole space. The mysterious woman frowned and said hatefully, If it weren't for the suppression of cultivation in this damned space, you wouldn't have been able to act so presumptuously. Soon after, her body bloomed with rays of multicolored light that welcomed the black-scaled claw. Thud. Thud. Thud! The sound of footsteps echoed in the surroundings, creating overlapping sounds. Lin Xian's body bloomed with light, but it was only enough to illuminate the path under his feet. Wherever he passed, the darkness receded like a tide and surrounded him violently. Lin Xian didn't know how long he had been walking. It was as if there was no end in sight. There was no sound, no figure. Only the sound of his heartbeat and the echoing sound of his footsteps could be heard. It continued until eternity. An illusory formation? He stopped in his tracks. The orange light in his eyes flickered like two divine lights that streaked across the darkness. Not far away, a light lit up. It looked like a door, but it was blurry. Lin Xian lifted his feet and walked toward the door. However, after a while, he realized that the door had deviated from its direction and appeared on his left side again. He adjusted his direction, but the door was always on his side. It was as if he had never walked in the right direction. Lin Xian smiled. He knew that he had fallen into an illusory formation, but so what? The path I walk, even if there is darkness in front of me, I will use the sword in my hand to cut out a path of light. The sword intent seed in his body trembled, and the shadow of a huge golden sword appeared behind him, towering between heaven and earth. The blurry door of light disappeared, and a sword ray rushed out from Lin Xian's body and cut through the void. Like a broken mirror, the boundless darkness turned into bits and pieces and disappeared in the air. The surrounding scenery changed drastically. Under a pink curtain, the air was filled with the rich fragrance of flowers and a faint body fragrance. A graceful figure was faintly discernible, a peerless face and a devilish figure. This was a cave of beauties. If it were anyone else, they would have been spurting blood. However, Lin Xian was expressionless. The orange light in his eyes flickered with a faint red light. His gaze was firm, and his expression was calm as he walked past. Behind him, the pink turned into a skeleton and disappeared. You're here. You're finally here. The surrounding scenery changed again, and a person appeared in front of him. The figure in front of him was blurry, as if it was covered by fog. Lin Xian walked forward and finally saw the other person's appearance. Young, delicate, black hair fluttering, eyes full of confidence. It was as if another him was standing there. Chapter 123. Lin Xian looked at his other self in front of him and smirked. What is it this time? Was it still an illusion? No, I am you. I really exist. The figure said slowly. Is that so? Lin Xian's aura suddenly changed. Sword intent surrounded him, making him look like a sword god. A powerful sword aura cut through the ground and rushed towards the figure. The 9 spiritual veins in his body resonated. Pure spiritual energy was attached to the sword, forming a 7-meter-long sword aura that slashed towards the figure. Boom! On the other side, a shocking aura also rushed out of the figure, as if it was going to cut through the void. Sword intent. Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't expect the other party to know this as well. So strong. This sword intent seems to be even stronger than mine. Lin Xian whispered. Could it be true sword intent? His sword intent was still at the half-step sword intent stage, but the other party had probably passed this stage and entered the true sword intent stage. The figure smiled and raised his right hand. Then he suddenly slashed down. A 7-meter-long sword aura flew out, but the aura on it was even sharper. Rumble! The two sword auras collided. Like a volcano erupting, the airwaves rolled and the invisible energy hit Lin Xian. Phantom thunder step. Lin Xian kept jumping. At the same time, a red protective sword aura condensed on his body to offset the aftershock of the sword aura. Whoosh! He floated to the ground. Orange light flashed in his eyes as he looked forward. There the figure stood quietly. The sword intent on him was even stronger. Kill! Lin Xian didn't hesitate and rushed over again with his sword. He had bronze gauntlets and talismans. It wouldn't be difficult to kill this figure. However, he didn't. He faintly felt that he had to use his own strength to kill this figure. Otherwise, even if he killed it, he might not be able to walk out. Lin Xian turned into a golden light and arrived in front of the figure in an instant. The red flame sword in his hand pierced out like thunder. He used the thunder sword technique, but the other party also used it. Not only were the moves the same, but the power was also stronger than Lin Xian's. 3 gale thrusts. Lin Xian's body moved along with his sword, turning into a green rainbow that flew out like a gust of wind. That figure also flew out, turning into a hurricane. Ding ding ding. The long swords clashed, creating sparks in the air. Every time the tip of the sword clashed against the tip of the sword, it was extremely dangerous. After 3 clashes, Lin Xian decisively retreated. He realized that the figure in front of him was too strange. Not only did he use the same moves as him, but his sword intent was also superior to his. What should I do? He kept thinking. This time the figure opposite him took the initiative to attack. Lin Xian met the attack head-on. Their figures intertwined, and in the blink of an eye, over 100 moves had been exchanged. Something's not right. Lin Xian dodged his opponent's sword chi, but his body suddenly trembled. If his sword intent was stronger than mine, I would have died long ago. But the situation now is that neither of us can do anything to the other. Lin Xian's eyes gradually lit up. I have been under his illusion since the beginning. Inside his body, Wine Lord was paying close attention to this battle. When he saw Lin Xian wake up, a smile appeared on his face. Defeat him, and you will be able to condense the true sword intent. Wine Lord said to himself. Lin Xian did not hear Wine Lord's words, but his thoughts were the same as Wine Lord's. As long as I can condense the true sword intent, I will be able to defeat him. Lin Xian saw hope. But how can I condense the true sword intent? He had been stuck at the half-step sword intent stage for too long, and could not break through for too long. My opponent has the concept of sword intent, but he does not have the power of sword intent. Maybe I can comprehend it from him. Thinking of this, Lin Xian attacked again. This time, other than fighting with the figure, Lin Xian also used his purple spirit eyes and soul force to comprehend the sword intent. Analyzing, verifying, and absorbing, Lin Xian improved rapidly. 2 hours later, the sword intent seed in Lin Xian's body shone brightly, releasing a shocking aura. A sword of thunder was faintly discernible, stirring up the wind and clouds. Lin Xian felt a powerful force, as if he could destroy everything with a single glance. Is this sword intent? He raised the sword with one hand and pointed it at the sky. With a swing of the sword, the air in front of him was sucked away, and the figure seemed to be fixed, unable to move. The golden sword light was extremely sharp, as if it could cut open the void and slash through. A huge sword mark cut across the ground, leaving a deep ravine. The figure that looked like Lin Xian, with blood flowing out from between his eyebrows, fell down powerlessly. You shouldn't have killed me, the figure said weakly. Humph. Lin Xian snorted, and 2 sword lights shot out from his eyes, directly piercing through the figure. Bang! The figure was completely disappointed, and the light on his body disappeared, revealing his original form. A wooden figure fell to the ground, its head split in half, with golden arcs of electricity jumping around the cracks. This battle actually allowed me to comprehend the true sword intent, as expected of the trial road. Lin Xian was extremely happy. His battle power had increased by a large margin, and even if he were to face Ling Kuan, he would be able to kill him directly. Let's go, the trial road isn't over yet. Wine Lord reminded him. Lin Xian nodded and walked towards the light door. Swish! A white light flashed, and the scenery changed again. This was a blue stone path, and in front of it was a vermilion door, with various sceneries on both sides. Leave this to me, Wine Lord said. Just do as I say. Next, Lin Xian began to move forward under the guidance of Wine Lord. This process might seem strange to outsiders, but only Lin Xian knew the thrill. Finally, Lin Xian passed through the blue stone path without any mishaps, and walked through the vermilion door. Inside was a large hall supported by 4 pillars. In front of it was a stone statue standing proudly. Although it didn't move, it had an aura of disdain for the world. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to withstand this aura. Fortunately, Lin Xian had comprehended the sword intent, so he wasn't affected. Under the stone statue was a stone table, and on it were 2 items. One was a stone token, and the other was a palm-sized key. That stone token should be a status symbol, and that key could be an important clue to open an important place. Keep it first, Wine Lord said. Hearing this, Lin Xian quickly put the 2 items into his storage ring. Although I don't know Senior's name, this trial road has indeed benefited me greatly, Lin Xian said seriously, and then he bowed deeply. Thank you, Senior. Rumble. As if sensing Lin Xian's respect, the tall stone statue's aura surged, as if it had come to life. Fated one. A deep voice rang out, reverberating in the hall. The surrounding air seemed to have frozen. Lin Xian felt as if he was in the air, floating with the wind. In front of him, there was a majestic figure standing in the void. The sword was drawn and the wind rose. Lin Xian didn't understand the concept behind it, but the scene of destruction shook his soul. Chapter 124. Wind Emperor's Sword. A voice filled with vicissitudes of life echoed in Lin Xian's mind. In the end, all the light and shadow turned into a sword and entered the space between Lin Xian's eyebrows. After a long time, Lin Xian opened his eyes. That sword? If I'm not wrong, it should be a kind of inheritance, Wine Lord said indifferently. Lin Xian nodded. There was indeed some information in his mind, but it wasn't complete. He didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stayed in the hall and silently digested the information in his mind. Although it was only a sword, it contained too many things. It was ever-changing and could derive many things. Lin Xian only memorized the most basic parts. He would slowly study the rest when he had time. After tidying up, Lin Xian quickly left the place. At this moment, outside the blood-red sky, a group of female disciples hurriedly rushed over. It's the people from Wuxia sect. Someone exclaimed. Why did they only arrive now? They're all injured. What happened? Who dared to attack them? The surrounding disciples whispered. The people from Wuxia sect didn't pay attention to the crowd. They directly rushed toward the entrance. The leader was a mysterious woman. She didn't hesitate. She gently raised her lily-white hand and pressed it on the seal. Bang! With a loud sound and a dazzling light, a big hole was blasted open in the seal. If the direct disciples of the three sects were here, they would definitely go crazy. They had attacked the seal for an entire incense stick's worth of time. However, this mysterious woman had completely blasted open the seal with a single attack. With a flash, the mysterious woman disappeared in front of the seal. The other Wuxia sect disciples also entered one after another. It actually opened. The surrounding disciples stared blankly ahead, as if they were dreaming. Charge! Someone shouted, and the group of disciples rushed forward like locusts. With a flash of white light, Lin Xian appeared on the street. There were tall buildings all around him. Every once in a while there would be a fork in the road. It was like a maze. The sound of fighting came from the front, accompanied by violent fluctuations of spiritual power. Lin Xian keenly felt that this situation wasn't just happening in one place. Looks like the treasure hunt has only just begun, Lin Xian muttered. Stop sighing and let's go. I found a good place. Wine Lord urged. Turn right at the 3rd Street. It's the second door inside, quick. Lin Xian tapped the soles of his feet lightly. Like a wisp of green smoke, he quickly floated past. Now that he had comprehended a trace of the Wind Emperor's sword, he had a new understanding of the usage of wind. It could be said that he now possessed the wind and lightning attributes. As long as he could perfectly fuse the two attributes, his strength would skyrocket. During this time, many people looked in Lin Xian's direction. However, when they saw the thick stone gate and the 5-colored seal, they all sighed and quickly left. There were many places like this in the blood-colored heavenly palace. Ordinary people couldn't open them. As for Zheng Jun, Xia Changfeng, and the others who had the ability to open this kind of seal, they had already entered deeper. However, Lin Xian was different. He had some knowledge of Wine Lord, so this kind of seal wasn't difficult for him. Just as he approached the stone gate, Lin Xian sensed a thick medicinal fragrance. His soul power could even capture the energy contained within. So fragrant! Lin Xian's eyes lit up. Good wine! Wine Lord chuckled. This seal has been sealed for so long that even the fragrance has leaked out. But that's good. Breaking it won't take much effort. Lin Xian followed Wine Lord's instructions. He extended his soul power and carefully broke the seal. Ka! Ka! With two soft sounds, the stone gate slowly opened. The ground trembled slightly. Whoosh! Lin Xian flashed and directly entered. He had already used his soul power to investigate. There was no danger inside. This stone room wasn't very big. There weren't any weapons or cultivation techniques inside. Instead, there were rows of wine jars. The biggest one was the size of a water jar. The smallest one was made of bronze. They were scattered on the table. What kind of wine is this? It smells so good. Lin Xian took a deep breath. The 9 spirit veins in his body shook and quickly revolved. Start with the small ones. Wine Lord was obviously an expert. Lin Xian waved his hand and collected the 3 bronze jars on the table. Then he began to collect the other jars. The stone gate is open. Someone outside exclaimed. Suddenly countless figures rushed over. Damn! Spirit wine. Several figures rushed in and greedily smelled the wine. The spirit chi contained within it loosened his bottleneck. Attack! The warriors' eyes were filled with madness as they pounced on the jars. Lin Xian didn't pay any attention to them. He had already cleaned out the best wine in the room. The rest of the wine was nothing to him. Lin Xian's gaze landed on a dark red wine cabinet. There was a wine cup inside. Lin Xian tried to take it, but found that it was blocked by a seal. Why is there only this kind of wine? A few Sea of Soul Realm warriors found that some places were empty. Kid, did you take it? If you know what's good for you, hand it over. 3 Sea of Soul Realm warriors looked at Lin Xian with unkind eyes. A pulse condensation realm trash. Take him down and take his storage ring. One of the Sea of Soul Realm warriors sneered. Okay. The other 2 agreed. Their auras gushed out like 3 mountains filling the entire space. Not good, retreat. Some of the pulse condensation realm warriors' faces changed as they retreated. Although the spirit wine was good, one needed to be alive to enjoy it. These people retreated out of the stone room, but did not go far. Instead, they looked around the door. Hey, that kid inside is dead for sure. Too greedy. Facing Sea of Soul Realm warriors, he still dares to act like this. He deserves to die. The 3 Sea of Soul Realm warriors were proud. Kid, I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the spirit wine or die. Lin Xian turned around and glanced at the 3 indifferently. I've killed quite a few Sea of Soul Realm warriors. If you don't want to die, scram. The 3 stared blankly, then laughed arrogantly. Aha, what did he say? He's killed Sea of Soul Realm warriors? You dare to tell us to scram? Today no one can save you. Fleeting blade. Jade hand. Light fist. The 3 attacked fiercely, shaking the entire stone room. Lin Xian stretched out his palm and drew a circle in front of him. A clear blue stream rotated, producing a gust of wind. However, this wind was very gentle, like a pair of invisible hands, guiding the 3's moves. Pung! 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 The attacks of the 3 Sea of Soul Realm warriors were guided by Lin Xian, crashing into the seal of the wine cabinet. The ground trembled and cracks appeared on the surrounding walls. Some of the wine jar's surfaces were suffused with white light. There was clearly some kind of power protecting this blood-colored heavenly palace. Otherwise, these attacks would have destroyed the entire stone room. Gotcha! The seal on the wine cabinet shattered, and the thing inside appeared. A thick fragrance wafted out of the wine. The fragrance was mesmerizing. Lin Xian moved his arm and quickly took out the wine cup. You dare! Put it down. You're courting death. Chapter 125. The 3 Sea of Soul Realm martial artists were like 3 angry beasts. Their eyes were bloodshot as they pounced toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian laughed heartily and drank all the spirit wine in his cup. Die! The 3 carried a fierce aura and attacked Lin Xian fiercely. Lin Xian sneered and slashed out with his sword. A powerful sword intent raged like a heavenly sword, stabbing at the 3's weak points. Puff! 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 The sword light flashed and the 3 retreated in horror. Their attacks were disintegrated in an instant, and the one who did this was only a 9th rank condensing meridian martial artist. Sword intent. This is sword intent. The 3 sucked in a breath of cold air. Misunderstanding. This is an abnormal misunderstanding. We will leave now. Then the 3 turned into afterimages and quickly fled, leaving the group of martial artists at the door in a daze. Lin Xian didn't kill them. After all, there was no great enmity between them. Moreover, after leaving, he would have to face their elders. If he killed them, it would be troublesome. Of course, if they were from the Ling family, it would be a different story. Lin Xian wouldn't let his enemies go. He used his soul power to search again but didn't find anything else. He didn't touch the 2 jars of spirit wine in the corner because he didn't need it. Moreover, he already had enough. There was nothing wrong with leaving some for the remaining people. Retracting his gaze, Lin Xian walked out of the door. Hua! The people who were blocking the door immediately dispersed and looked at him in awe. They were afraid that if he was unhappy, he would start a massacre. Lin Xian found that there were also Black Sky sect disciples in the crowd. He nodded and said slowly, "The spirit wine inside is enough for you to distribute. Take it one by one. Don't fight and don't fight." The group nodded like chickens pecking at rice. Who would dare to disobey? The 3 Sea of Soul Realm martial artists had already escaped, so no one dared to act wildly. Lin Xian did this mainly because he was afraid that the Black Sky sect disciples would be at a disadvantage. After all, there were many disciples of other forces here. His body swayed and turned into a breeze floating away. The remaining disciples began to walk in silently and distribute the spirit wine according to the number of people. This was probably the only place in the blood-colored heavenly palace where such a harmonious scene could be found. Lin Xian's figure quickly moved. He found a remote corner and sat down. The spirit wine in his body had already started to take effect. Actually, the best thing to do would be to wait until it was safe before drinking the spirit wine. However, there were too many Sea of Souls realm warriors in this bloody palace. Moreover, he could meet Ling Feng or Zheng Jun at any time. Both of them were martial artists at the second sky of the spiritual ocean realm. In this place where opportunities were everywhere, breaking through to the next level was not difficult. He had to quickly increase his strength so that he could obtain more resources. The spirit wine in his body turned into a warm current and began to rush through his meridians. Lin Xian took out the crimson flame greatsword, activated tenfold gravity, and stabbed it in front of him. As for himself, he closed his eyes and began to activate the longevity secret art. From the meridian's condensing stage to the spirit sea stage, one had to gather the power of the 9 spirit meridians in the dantian to form the spirit sea. Lin Xian thought about it thoroughly before he began to act. Without deliberately suppressing it, the spirit power in Lin Xian's body surged without stopping. Under the effect of the spirit wine, the circulation of his spirit power was several times faster than usual. The 9 spirit meridians were like a vast river, constantly circulating. Following the chant of the longevity secret art, Lin Xian began to gather the spirit sea in his dantian. His abnormal actions finally attracted the attention of others. Many disciples looked over, but most of them only gave him a quick glance and ignored him. After all, the most important thing now was to find the treasure. Who would care about other people's business? However, there were exceptions among these people, and they were the disciples of the Ling family. 2 Sea of Souls realm disciples of the Ling family looked at Lin Xian's figure and revealed a puzzled expression. Wasn't he blocked outside? How did he come in? There are more and more martial artists here. I'm afraid something happened outside that we don't know about. One of the Ling family disciples said. But that's not important. Who cares how he came in? We just need to kill him. The 2 laughed nastily. With a stomp of their feet, they turned into rays of light and flew over. It looks like he's about to enter the Sea of Souls realm. How long has it been? He went from the 8th level of the Meridian's realm to the Sea of Souls realm. He must have had a fortuitous encounter. After we kill him, we'll take his storage ring. Let him die from chi deviation. Just thinking about it makes me excited. The 2 arrived in a flash and stretched out their palms arrogantly. Wang! In front of them, the red flame sword trembled. 10 times the pressure appeared and crashed down. The 2 Ling family disciples' bodies suddenly fell. Their eyes revealed a horrified expression as they retreated in panic. What's going on? After retreating 3 zhang away, the 2 were still in shock. That sword is strange. It seems to be able to create a special gravity. The 2 were both Sea of Souls realm experts and quickly understood. Attack from afar. Mountain suppressing hand. Pushing out a palm, the spirit power in his body surged out and gathered in front of him into an ancient small mountain that quickly flew over. Rumble. Wherever it passed, the ground caved in by 3 layers. One could imagine the terrifying power contained within. However, 10 times the gravity was no joke. Soon the small mountain of spirit power was worn down. Then, the sword lightly trembled and absorbed the spirit power. I don't believe it. Again. The two didn't want to miss this good opportunity. So they both used Mountain Suppressing Hand. 2 mountains of spirit power flew out and crashed into Lin Xian. Although Lin Xian was trying to break through to the Sea of Souls realm, he still left some of his consciousness to observe the outside world. Seeing the 2 mountains of spirit power fly over, he frowned. Don't worry about breaking through. I'm here. Wine Lord said with a smile. Although you can't directly attack, you can still control a sword. With Wine Lord here, Lin Xian was completely at ease. He began to break through to the Sea of Souls realm with all his strength. Outside, the 2 mountains quickly rushed over and broke into the 10 times gravity zone. However, this time the dark red rune on the red flame sword bloomed with light. The 2 mountains of spirit power entered the gravity zone and strangely turned in a circle. Then they flew back without moving. This scene made the 2's faces change again. They cursed and spread out to the sides. Pung! Pung! The 2 mountains of spirit power hit the wall behind them, causing a tremor. Fortunately, the inside of the blood-colored palace was extremely hard. Only some stones fell. The 2 gritted their teeth. They couldn't break through no matter what they did. They could only watch as Lin Xian broke through bit by bit. No, we can't let him off so easily. Oh, go find Ling Yun. He should be nearby. One of them quickly left. The other stared at Lin Xian, murderous intent flashing in his eyes. When big brother Ling Yun comes, you're dead meat. He was very confident because Ling Yun was a martial artist in the late stage of the first layer of the spiritual sea realm. He was very powerful, far more powerful than the 2 of them. Just as the Ling family disciple called for reinforcements, Lin Xian's body also underwent an earth-shattering change. In his dantian there was a ball of green liquid that kept spinning like a whirlpool. Lin Xian broke through to the spiritual sea realm very smoothly, and in a very short time. If he told others, no one would believe him. However, this was all thanks to his cultivation method, the art of longevity. In addition to the domineering name, this cultivation method once again showed its power. In fact, Lin Xian didn't know that his spiritual sea was bigger than others. It didn't look like he had just entered the spiritual sea realm. After knowing that the Ling family disciple called for reinforcements, he sneered. If he could make use of this situation to kill a strong opponent, that would be the best. Chapter 126. Seeing Lin Xian's pained expression, the Ling family disciple sneered. Do you really think the spirit sea realm is that easy to break through? Back then, he had spent a lot of effort to break through to the spirit sea realm. Now that he thought about it, he was still a little scared. Seeing Lin Xian's appearance, he had a gloating expression on his face. Not long after, the Ling family disciple who had left returned. Beside him was a stern-looking young man and a youth. Big brother Yun. The Ling family disciple who was guarding Lin Xian shouted happily. The young man was Ling Yun, and the youth beside him was Ling Zai. Ling Yun looked at Lin Xian with a gloomy expression. The 2 of you are really embarrassing. You can't even take care of someone who can't move. The 2 trembled in fear and hurriedly explained. The black sword in front of that kid is strange. It can produce an extremely strong gravitational force. Big brother Yun, you have to be careful. Go back and practice hard. Don't embarrass the Ling family. Ling Yun said in a low voice. The 2 of you have done a great service by discovering him. I will report this to the family head when I return. Thank you, big brother Yun. The 2 were ecstatic. Ling Yun smiled faintly. He had first shocked the 2 of them so that they didn't dare to claim credit. Then he prepared to deal with Lin Xian. Getting rid of a genius who had comprehended sword intent was definitely a big deal. He would probably be rewarded handsomely. Ling Yun used his fingers like a knife and sent out a resplendent blade aura. It fell into the gravitational field and gradually disappeared. There is indeed something strange. The gravitational force is about 10 times stronger than normal. Ling Yun was much stronger than the other 2 and had more experience. With big brother Yun's strength, forcefully breaking through is no problem. The 2 complemented. Ling Zai was also looking forward to it. He wanted to see Lin Xian die with his own eyes. Ling Yun sneered. There is no need to go through so much trouble to kill a brat. Today I will show you my new martial technique. Letting a genius die from chi deviation is far more satisfying than killing him myself. Ling Ze's face was full of pride. He looked at Lin Xian as if he was looking at a dead man. Ling Yun slowly walked in front of Black Sword, his cold gaze fixed on Lin Xian. Brat, since you dared to offend the Ling family, you shall atone for your sins with your death. Lin Xian sneered in his heart. He didn't act rashly. He wanted to wait for Ling Yun to let his guard down completely. Roar! Ling Yun channeled his spiritual energy, leaned forward and roared. His deep voice combined with his spiritual energy formed a powerful sound wave attack that rushed towards Lin Xian. Crack! Crack! The nearby walls, ground, and all the places that were enveloped by the sound waves were all covered with scars that looked like they had been slashed by swords. It was extremely terrifying. Some of the warriors who were passing by were even more terrified. The weaker ones were spitting out blood non-stop. Even the 2 Sea of Souls realm warriors from the Ling family were pale and dizzy. Sound wave attacks are indeed sinister. Lin Xian cursed in his heart. This kind of attack was impossible to defend against. It could penetrate the body and directly injure the internal organs. However, Lin Xian wasn't afraid. His soul power was stronger than sound waves, and his defense was more effective. However, he couldn't make it too obvious. He had to lure Ling Yun closer so that he could attack. Secretly communicating with Wine Lord, he had Wine Lord control the red flame sword and make it look like he was defending. At the same time, he used his soul power to neutralize the sound wave attack, but he pretended to be injured. From an outsider's perspective, Lin Xian's face was pale and he was on the verge of collapsing. The dark red sword in front of him trembled slightly, blocking most of the sound wave attack. Eh? You can actually block it? Ling Yun was shocked. His face turned ugly. He used the sound wave technique again. It was extremely terrifying. However, Lin Xian's face only turned paler and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Other than that, there were no other changes. Big brother Yun, you improved so quickly. You must have had a fortuitous encounter. Maybe you have some treasures on you. Behind him, 2 disciples of the Ling family said. Ling Yun's face relaxed. Treasures? That's even better. Fine, let me deal with you personally. This is your honor. Ling Yun laughed coldly. A layer of spiritual armor appeared on the surface of his body, covering his body. Then his body flashed and he charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian used his soul power to sense everything. He decided to use his strongest sword intent attack. He was even prepared to use his bronze gloves. This time he had to kill Ling Yun. Whoosh! Ling Yun flashed and quickly arrived beside Lin Xian. The spiritual armor on his body changed slightly due to the effect of 10 times the gravity. He looked down from above and placed one hand on Lin Xian's head. There was a trace of contempt in his eyes. Diant. However, before he could use his strength, the situation changed drastically. Lin Xian, who seemed to be injured like an ant, suddenly opened his eyes. 2 golden electric arcs were as sharp as divine swords. The sword intent on his body surged, and his aura was shocking. Sword chi that was close to 10 feet long appeared in his hand, and he slashed with all his might. The complete form of the sword intent, coupled with the cultivation of the spiritual sea realm, made this sword extremely fast and breathtaking. Ling Yun's face was still filled with disdain, but his body suddenly split into 2. Even in death, he couldn't believe that he would die at the hands of Lin Xian. This scene was too sudden. Ling Yun's carelessness and arrogance, coupled with Lin Xian's advancement, caused all of this to happen in an instant. The faces of the Ling family disciples in the distance were distorted. They couldn't accept the scene before them. Ling Ze bit his lips tightly, and his body trembled non-stop. Impossible, Big Brother Yun can't die. Ling Ze and the rest kept pinching themselves to wake up from their dreams. However, this was reality, a bloody reality. Lin Xian's body flashed, and he appeared in front of the 3 of them. With a wave of his arm, 2 rays of sword light flew out, carrying a sharp sword intent, and killed the 2 spiritual sea realm martial artists. After entering the spiritual sea realm, not only could one transform their spiritual energy, but they could also release sword chi. Lin Xian's lips curled up slightly as he looked at Ling Ze. No, don't kill me. Ling Ze was so scared that he lost control of his bladder. His legs went soft and he knelt on the ground. If he could turn back time, he definitely wouldn't have provoked Lin Xian. Ling Zhe was filled with regret. He was the one who brought disaster to the family. However, there were no ifs in this world. Lin Xian wouldn't let this person who had tried to kill him multiple times go. The sword light flashed, and a bloody hole appeared between Ling Zhe's eyebrows. He died with boundless regret. Lin Xian took the storage rings of the three people and left quickly. Fortunately, he had used the lion's roar technique earlier, scaring away everyone nearby. Therefore, no one saw Lin Xian kill anyone. It took a long time for someone to come over. However, they all ran away quickly when they saw the corpses on the ground. Lin Xian slowed down after leaving the scene. He took the storage rings of the three people in his hands and began to inspect the items inside. Ling Zhe and the rest were very ordinary. Other than some spiritual stones and pills, there was nothing else. However, he was still very satisfied with Ling Yun's storage ring. There were close to 100 mid-grade spiritual stones, a box of low-grade spiritual stones, and 2 martial arts manuals. One was the Ling family's secret technique, the mountain suppressing hand. The other was the sound wave technique. Lin Xian looked at the sound wave technique first. To be honest, he was very interested in this kind of attack. If not for his strong soul power, he would have died under the sound wave technique.